Today is March 25th, 2026, and this is the Town of South Kingstown Assessment Board of Review meeting. First item of business is roll call. David Bott is here. The gentleman to my right.
Ken Monroe is here.
Gentleman to my left.
Brad Heavenor is present.
And the lady to my left.
Alice Klezak.
Okay.
Alternate.
We have four that are present here. Next item of business is to review the minutes from the last meeting. Do we have a motion to approve the minutes as presented?
Yeah, so moved.
Okay, we have a motion for the minutes as presented. Do we have a second? I'll second that. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, motion passes. Minutes have been approved. Next item of business is new business. First of all, we got quite a few people here under new business today. I don't know how many there are. Maybe there's like around a dozen. And typically, what we've been doing in the past is trying to hold or try to keep everybody to 10 minutes in their presentation. So we're going to be timing this, and we're going to let everybody know that. So when you do come up here, we would appreciate if everybody could be concise and direct with their comments, okay? And most of us, usually all of us, read the packets, before we get to the meeting today. So, we are familiar with your situation, and we'd appreciate it if we can just kind of keep this concise as possible.
And Chairman Bott, I just wanted to reiterate that we are going to have a timer here. So as soon as we see you start speaking, we'll hit the timer. It's 10 minutes, and we'll alert the chair to the time, and whether you're permitted to give a few more minutes of testimony if you need it is up to the chair.
Okay, thank you. Okay, under new business, the first item of business is appeal number 91. Is anybody here representing appeal number 91? Okay, what's the board want to do with this? We want to put this...
Chairman, my preference would be is to allow the people that are here to go and just postpone any of the appeals of people that are not here to the end of the appeal period.
Okay.
They did tell us that they won't be in attendance, so you can go ahead and move.
Okay, so we'll just move right past it, and we'll make a motion afterwards in a discussion.
They were on the schedule last time as well. They were continued last time. So I think that we save this for decision making when we get to the point to decide.
Correct. And just another point is that when we sent the notice of hearing, we did make a note, and I'll read it for the board and for the public. Please note, this will be the last meeting for new business with public comments regarding appeals for year-end 12/31/24. If you are unable to attend, you may send a representative or submit written testimony. We've gotten all sorts of either an email correspondence, or they're not attending and they've sent something in, or we haven't heard back, and everyone's been notified that that's the case.
Very good. Next item is appeal number 92. Is anybody here representing appeal number 92? Hearing none, do we have a motion to... We want to move that along,
Yeah,
Brad?
They no-showed last time as well.
My son is representing me, right? I can't move to him. He had to step out for a minute, so I don't know what you're actually asking. But we are...
So you're this person right here?
We are
Number 92?
Severi, I can't break.
Okay, well, when we get to you, we can talk about that.
Yeah.
Okay?
Okay, so-
Yeah, we'll be happy to talk about that.
No, don't be sorry. We'll let
worries.
you know.
Yeah, we'll let you know.
when it's your time.
We'll work it out.
We'll let you know when
Yeah.
it's your time. No worries.
Okay, but comes, I don't have this information.
We can always move it to the
Don't worry.
back of the agenda.
Yeah, so we'll just make a note on that one that she's got someone who's going to speak for her. And
It's
and there's-
118, yes.
Right, so we'll make sure to... We're not going to miss her, yeah.
Okay, so we're gonna take appeal number 92 and just talk about that at the end of the meeting. The next item of business is appeal number 103, Waters. Charles and Daniel Fogarty. Is anybody here representing the appellant here today?
You may have a seat there, and then the microphone in front of you, if you look at there's two little buttons in the front. the right button, it looks like a little person speaking. If you hit that, it'll turn red here. Perfect, then if you could speak into the mic, that would be lovely.
Okay.
If you could state your name for the record, please, that would be appreciated.
State what, please?
If you could state your name for the record before you start your presentation, that would be appreciated.
Yeah, my name is Charles Waters. And I do have just one other packet of a couple of maps.
Thank you. Mr. Waters, the packets that you gave us on the 20th, the board does have. Okay?
Okay, this item that I have distributed to you guys is a memorandum that we wrote in response to the assessment, the first assessment that happened. At that first assessment, in fact, you approved on the building because of the style mistake on the house. You approved the $168,000.
We did not approve anything. The assessor's office, I believe, made a correction, but we're not involved in the assessment. This is the first time we're talking to you.
Okay. At any rate, we had a reduction in our tax base because of our building of $168,000. In our original application, we also indicated that we thought that our land was overvalued. So that's what a good bit of the handout that we gave last week is about. If we can turn, first of all, to the handouts that I just gave today. And there's two different things in here. And if you'll hold it so that up in the upper left-hand corner you have the north arrow up on the top, then if you look at this, you see all of these lots highlighted or circled in yellow. Is everybody with me there? Yeah. So our lot is right about in the middle of the whole map. It's 124. This is from the South Kingstown GIS web site. And 124 is, you know, pretty much everybody see 124? Are you with me? Good. What? Oh, great. Yep. 124 is the last house. If you look just to the left of the lot, you see a circle of trees and that circle inside the trees. That circle inside the trees is a cul-de-sac. And that cul-de-sac is, of course, right out in front of our house. Now, the main issue here is that Walsh Road, for the three houses that you can see, 124 and then above it 116 and then 104, the land is in South Kingstown, and the road, the houses right across the street are in Charlestown. Later on, I'll talk about, or I might as well talk about it now. We get all of our municipal services from Charlestown. We had to call the police once because an alarm went off, and it was Charlestown police that came. My neighbor next door had a medical situation, called 911, and it was a Charlestown rescue that came. And so my point is, I don't know what that gets me other than the fact that we don't get practically zero services from the town of South Kingstown. So if I can go back to the memorandum, if you'll turn in the tax assessor's response to us for not going any further, she indicated that our at the last valuation, she indicated that our land went up from 2023 to 2024, which is the evaluation date, by I think it was 23%. If you just do the arithmetic, it's clear that it's 30%. If you look at what our land has done from 2021, by the way, I'm on page 3 of my handout. 2021 to current, it went up 2021 to current, in other words, a 2-year revaluation, 63%. If you look at what we went up from 2020, from the very beginning, 175,000 to now, it's 113% in a 3-year period. So, let me see. The next page, it's not the next page. Page 6 of 10 here. Now, this is really the meat of our appeal here. If you can look at the map and at this page 6 at the same time, I'm comparing in this the 3 lots that are south of us on our border, 3 lots, and that's 2049, 2070, 27, and 2025. You can see that each one of those lots borders our southern side. And that's what this is about, this page 6. I indicate on page 6 not only our land assessment, but the assessment of those 3 lots that are on our border. And literally, if you stand on that line, you can have 1 foot on a piece of property that's worth $327,000, or if you have your foot on our side of that line, it's $461,000. That's the per acre. I've adjusted from, because none of these lots are exactly an acre, so I've adjusted each one of them, and the numbers are there for you to see. So, based on this, I did the calculation of what would our land value be if it were the same per acre price as those lots that are right next door. And what I came up with is $288,000. It's right in the middle of page 6 of 10. Another couple of points I'd like to make. All the bordering properties in this illustration are closer to the town beaches, any beach in South Kingstown. Now, one of the things that values property down in South Kingstown is its proximity to the beach. And all 3 of those are 7/10 of a mile closer to the one beach that I did was Green Hill Beach. That's the closest to us of beaches that are in South Kingstown. Our road, Walsh Road, is maintained by Charlestown. Example of that was the 2 last snowstorms. We never saw a South Kingstown plow, only Charlestown plows took care of our street. We have private, I don't know whether this is meaningful or not, we're not on the South Kingstown water system or the sewer system, so, we had to build our own. And then again, police, fire, rescue, all of those efforts come from Charlestown. And the fire, I spoke to the fire chief in Charlestown. He said, if there's a fire at your house, we're coming. Charlestown is the one that's going to respond, at least initially. So the next page, page 7, it's just, again, this is off the South Kingstown GIS, and it's just, a graphic of the lots in question. The one in the middle near the top, 124 Walsh Road, that's us. And then the 3 that border us are all, the front of their property is Matunic Schoolhouse Road. One more thing about the handouts today. If you take a look at page 2 and page 3 of these handouts, these are simply pictures. I don't know, can that go up on the screen? these other two pictures that I have?
We don't have.
I
Okay,
only just
all right,
received
okay,
those, so
good.
I'm not able to do that, sir.
The ones that I'm talking about, I labeled down at the bottom, the first house or yard picture is 2027 Matunic Schoolhouse Road. That's one of the properties. Now, the picture is taken from the middle of our backyard. Now, you can see that it's just the same land in our backyard as it is in the backyards of this property and the next one. Both of these pictures were taken maybe about 25 feet into our property from the borderline. Let me see if there's anything else that I'd like to bring to your attention. Any questions?
Just a question for the assessor. I'm guessing this is a case where there's a neighborhood delineation, and this property finds itself on the edge of between two different neighborhoods as like classified by vision. Is that
I'm sorry, repeat that question, I'm sorry.
just in terms of the discrepancy that he's raising between the land values of his neighboring properties? Is that attributable to a difference in neighborhood delineation?
Correct. So I was actually just looking to see, what the neighborhood and the neighborhood adjustment was. I didn't get that far yet, but most likely, yes. I can check that now if you'd like.
I'm not quite sure what you mean by delineation of the neighborhood. As you can see in these pictures, these bordering houses are, we're good friends with all these people, and there really is no. If there is a delineation, it's some of these negative things as far as our property is concerned. For example, the Charlestown involvement in our property as opposed to the other ones. Even though these properties are right next door to us, we're 7/10 of a mile closer because we have to travel through the whole Charlestown neighborhood to get to the Matunic Schoolhouse Road. And the total distance to Green Hill Beach is 2.7 miles for us and 2 miles for these neighboring folks, because they go out the front of these properties and they're already on Matunic Schoolhouse Road. It takes us 7/10 of a mile to get to where they are to begin with. And, there is no question that people buy property down here because it's near the beach.
Okay, just a quick friendly reminder here, we have exceeded the 10-minute, and we're still talking about this. If we could wrap this up, do any of the board members have any more questions or comments?
No, my only question or maybe clarification is that the properties on Matunic Schoolhouse Road are going to be delineated differently than any property that's in a neighborhood or on a cul-de-sac. I think that's what...
Those properties are what? I'm a little hard of hearing.
That's okay.
What did you, one more time?
When Brad asked the question about the delineation,
Yeah,
there is different sets of values on properties that are on cul-de-sacs than are on say, a busy road like Matunic Schoolhouse Road. So you're bringing up the proximity to the water, good point, but when you're inside a cul-de-sac, that is a little bit different than being on a busy road. So there is a delineation that Vision Appraisal of the town will put on that aspect of it. So I would be curious as to what 116 is, the properties that are in the cul-de-sac, because that's really more of your comparison than properties on Matunic Schoolhouse
well,
Road.
two things. There's only one other property on the cul-de-sac. That's a house that's directly across the street from us on the cul-de-sac.
Well, 116 would be what I would like to look at. Unfortunately, my internet is...
116 is not on the cul-de-sac.
Do you want to do that during the decision-making
Yeah.
phase? Okay, and just to answer your question, Mr. Hevner, I did pull up that property there on the corner, and just to make sure, and there are notes, it's the Charlestown border, that it's a different neighborhood, there's a different neighborhood adjustment for that, so correct.
Anything else from board members? Anything else? Are you, I think,
I think I made my case.
we understand everything here, and it was a very good presentation. So just as an order of a procedural item, what we do is we hear all of these applications or these appellants today, and then what we're going to do is we're going to close the public hearing, and we're going to discuss this at a public hearing, at an open meeting. There won't be any type of public hearing because you've heard all the public comments. So most likely, we're not going to get to any of these today. We might, and we'll be discussing it, and we're going to make a decision on it. So we have another meeting scheduled in the future. I think that is April 10th, Wendy?
April 8th.
April 8th. So I'd say it's a 99% chance that we're going to be hearing almost every one of these on April 8th. Not hearing, but discussing them and coming up with a decision.
Okay, so when can I expect an answer?
After April 8th.
When we know, you'll
Yeah.
know.
After April 8th?
Well, I doubt we're going to get to any of these. Maybe we will, one or two, we'll see.
So we have one other meeting scheduled so far on April 8th. We may need another
Yeah.
meeting we might have to have an additional meeting for decisions, just given the volume of decisions we have to make. So it'll be April, most likely.
We're going to try to get through them.
Let's go.
So,
Okay.
okay, thank you very much.
Thanks.
Next item on the agenda is Appeal Number 109. Is anybody here representing the appellant? It's Ryan Erickson and Robin Leclerc.
Hi, Robin, how are you?
How you doing, Robin?
Just to let you know that I am recusing myself from anything to do with this one because I was involved in the sale. So just so you're aware, Alice as our alternate will be involved. But just so there's no conflict of interest, I've already recused myself, knowing I procured the sale to you guys.
Thank you, Ken. Red button on the right, or
Hi.
the one that lights up on the right.
Hi, my name is Robin Leclerc. I am a realtor with residential properties in Wakefield, and I'm also part owner of this property. So I sold this property, I think it was 3 or 4 years ago. Anyhow, I'm here because the assessed value had increased dramatically of $125,000 from 1 year to the next. Let's see. Besides all the information that you already have from my last appeal, you have all that information still. I have some different information that I would like to discuss in regards to my appeal with this assessed value. It was assessed at $426,400, and then the new assessment in 2025 is $660,400. So I've compared this property to several other properties that I feel are assessed lower than what they should be, or this property, this subject property should be in fair range of those properties. So I did a 2-mile radius of properties that have sold from this property. My question, I'm not sure, because I've never been to this appeal process in South Kingstown before, but do you consider properties within a 2-mile radius that are in Charlestown? No? Okay. So that,
Well, the assessor doesn't, but if we're looking at market value, like an appraiser or a realtor might. So
Right.
I wouldn't personally omit that as a data point, just for my own, my own response, but I know for the assessors have a very, they confine the parameters to, on the basis of location, but also date of sale and I'm sure other factors too. But we are not limited by the assessor's limitations.
Okay. One of the, one house that has sold in December of 2024 that I did not have on my original appeal is 1172 Shannock Road, Charlestown. Now, the subject property is 442 Shannock Road. It's not that far away from it, but 1172 Shannock Road in Charlestown is assessed at $440,300, and it sold for $450,000. The lot size is less than half, but what I would like to reiterate is the subject property, granted it's on 2 acres, but half of the property is a steep downhill, and it's unusable. So I'd like to reiterate that. That was in my first appeal. So I'm basically comparing smaller size properties with smaller pieces, smaller land with the subject property, just to get a comparable, fair comparable out there. I'm going to give you this 2-mile radius printout that I made with the little yellow sticky notes that have my properties that I'd like you to compare the subject property to. I'll give that to you when I leave, so you can have it for your records. But I'm basically just trying to get this valuation lower because I think it was increased extremely high in a short amount of time. When I sold this property for 3 or 4 years ago, my clients purchased it and I purchased it in as-is condition. We've only made about maybe $30,000 worth of improvements on the inside. It still needs a new roof and new windows and exterior painting. And then the fact that that the property is like half usable. And also I'd like to note that there is no garage on this property. There never was. There was a shed and some other like exterior things, like a dumpster or whatever that was on the property, but there is no garage at this house. I'd like to reiterate that because that was in the listing when we purchased the property. Let's see. If you look at 644 Shannock Road, that sold in 2025, I think May of 2025. That is on 1 acre, and it's granted it sold for $615,000, but it's assessed at $484,700 in 2025. So if you look at that property, it's all flat, beautiful grass land, not on a steep hill, not wooded. And I'm just bringing that up for comparison for assessed value. That one sold in May of 2025. Another property that sold, let's see, hold on 1 second. My point is, if you look at the when I go on the vision appraisal and I look at the the total market land value. I just feel that it's too much considering that the land is half usable. And then as far as the comparable price of the house, when I sold the house, it was sold for $370,000. And then, and now you see the assessed value is $660,400. I just think that's a little bit out of whack. So I think that's it with this appeal that I have.
Comments, questions from the board?
Yeah, just maybe, so I understand, like, the main point is, so the utility of the site is impacted by the topography. And then the other, I'm just curious a little bit more about, so it looks like it was purchased in 2021 for $370,000. Was the intention at the time, was it to renovate it, or is just to kind of, it's mixed, because I get mixed messages about the property, because I have the Realtor's listing here that describes it as wonderful with cathedral
Yeah.
ceilings
Oh.
and hardwood floors.
Don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong, it was nice, it was updated, but there was a lot of other things that still needed to be done, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to dig into in terms of just what the condition of the property is in, because I see that it was built, it looks like it was built in 1998, or was it renovated in 1998? Because
No, it was
So that-
renovated and, well, it was built, I think it was built in 1998, but the owner had was working on doing some interior renovations, and then he listed it, and then,
Right. It has the dreaded words "needs TLC," which I feel like say a lot about the.
Yeah, well, the other thing is that, we had the septic backed up, so that was a major repair that we had to fix with that septic system. But yeah, I mean, it still needed a lot of work, and, just, we haven't made that much of money-wise improvements, mainly on the inside, doing some interior work and, finishing off a bathroom or whatever, but it does still need, to this day, it still needs a new roof and new windows, and all new exterior painting. So those are some 3 big items that still need to be done. But I don't know if the 1-car garage was listed because you could probably park a car in what was there, like a tin shed or whatever, but it definitely didn't have that. I know that adds value to a property.
Yeah, I don't see a garage on the field card, actually,
Yeah.
unless I'm
Okay.
mistaken.
Yeah, well, it was on the listing, but.
Yeah, I don't think the field card has a garage on it. It looks like it's got 2 outbuildings, like
Yeah.
two sheds, and then a wood deck
Yeah.
in the rear. I mean, those are discrepancies like that are easy enough to discuss with the assessor and have corrected if there's actually a material, easily provable factual discrepancy in something that doesn't exist.
Yeah, yeah.
Just a friendly reminder, we have we have reached the 10-minute,
Yeah, well,
friendly time limit here.
I'm done if you have any other questions.
Yeah, I'm good. Okay.
Yeah.
David.
Alice, any questions? No. Okay, thank you very much, Robin.
Okay.
We will discuss it
Thank
possibly
you.
at this meeting, probably at the next meeting.
No worries, thank you.
Thank you.
Can I give this? No.
Probably best to give that to staff. Next item on the agenda is appeal number 115. Smith is the name. Is there anybody here representing appeal number 115? Well, as soon as Robin leaves, you can have at the desk.
Just while we
Thank
make
you
the
very much.
transition, if we can get a copy, if the board can get a copy of what Ms. Leclerc just shared with Liz before the next meeting.
David?
Yes, Alice.
As alternate, I recuse myself on this one.
Okay, for the record, Alice is recusing herself on this, on number 115. Ken, you're back with us now, right? Very good. Okay,
All right.
We're ready.
Right. I'm Mary Gail Smith, and I live at 17 Periwinkle Drive West, and I've been smiling at Alice. Alice's firm was part of my sale process back in 2011 when I bought the Little Beach House, and then I retired there in 2015, and I just love living at the beach. It's lovely. I've submitted some additional information in my packet. One of the items was a written appraisal done by Whedon Appraisal of Charlestown, where they had indicated on the form they had a choice between whether the street was public or private. They put the X in the box that said private, and that's why I bought the house. I'm not afraid of a dirt road, but I didn't want to be on a private road. I wouldn't have bought the house otherwise. But in 2023, January 23rd, 2023, the South Kingstown Town Council voted to cease maintenance on 14 of the 28 roads in my subdivision, which is Mawtucket by the Sea, and my road was one of them. And they deemed my road a private road. So that this has been an issue because they had been maintaining the road, and our deeds indicate that the neighbors don't own the roads. The property line stops right at the edge of the road. So we're unable to get insurance because we don't have an insurable interest because we don't own the road. And for 2 winters, the winters of 2024 and 2025, I helped spearhead a committee that was surveying the local snowplowers to see if anyone would take us on as a customer. And part of the reasons given were, that we didn't own the roads, that they were dirt. Some of them didn't want to deal with dirt roads. And but with the fact that we didn't have insurance and we didn't have a homeowners association. And also the roads are not contiguous. They represent, there's 14 miles in total, and they're not contiguous. So it was, nobody wanted the job. This year I was able to, just for myself, get Larlin Landscaping to plow my road. And to date I have spent about $1,000, about $1,100. And I do hope that when my neighbors come back from wherever they spend the winter, that they'll chip in, but I'm not 100% sure. I think I'll be lucky if one of them does. But I just wanted to bring to your attention that it's been difficult. There are fire hydrants on our affected roads, and it's a dangerous situation for when the roads are not plowed, and we've all just lived through a really eye-opening winter. Fuel deliveries were at risk. Many of my neighbors hand-shoveled roads, and emergency services could have been delayed. A very dangerous situation, and there's no doubt in my mind that this affects property values. In January of 2024, in the neighborhood that's off of Green Hill Beach Road, the road itself is Green Hill Ocean Drive, a fire truck had been dispatched to investigate a gas leak, and it got stuck in sand that had been turned up on the road as a result of a storm during the winter. It wasn't snow, but it was sand, and the maintenance had ceased, and the fire truck had to be towed, and that's a problem as well. This information about the impact of the town's decision did not go unnoticed by the Kent Washington Association of Realtors. They stated in November of 2023, and thank heavens for yellow highlighter. We know with certainty that the value of these properties will be adversely affected immediately, and that the purchase or maintenance of these properties with financing will be made difficult, if not impossible, for these properties assessed by roads with no responsible party in place. These are roads the town permitted to be constructed and parcels the town allowed to be developed with no bond in place. So I agree with that assessment, and I think that it corroborates my concern about a reduction in property values. And then finally, I did submit some photos of the extreme flooding that's been happening on my street. And this is something that's fairly new in the past couple of years. And it's to the extent that at one point I had to cancel a meeting I was having at my house because the water was somewhere around 6 inches deep. And I have an electric vehicle now with a battery on the bottom, and there are a couple of times this past winter that I have been fearful of going out in that much water, even though the battery is all wrapped up. I'm told it could be a problem. So this, the fact that you can't always invite people to your house if it's rained too hard certainly would affect property values. And during the blizzard, Larlin Landscaping came to plow the road for me, and they've been very good about it. They got stuck, and this is a photo of them being towed. Bless their hearts, after they got towed, they regrouped and came back and plowed the street and my driveway. I have pictures of the flooding, which is, this water is coming directly off of off of Mawtucket Road, flows into Periwinkle Drive, and the source of it is Route 1A. And the town really needs to do something to stop this water from coming down. I used to have a berm. There was a berm in place at the end of the street, and that was, how would you say, destroyed. There had been a water main break in 2024, and the town has not repaired it. And I also filled in a pothole at the intersection of Mawtucket and Periwinkle Drive, and I got my hands severely slapped by the town because I didn't realize that it was their right-of-way there. But my argument is they should have taken care of it. Anyway, if I misbehave again, apparently I'll be going to municipal court, so I'm going to be very careful. So that's my tale of woe currently. The two comps that I brought to your attention earlier, the one of the most significance to me is the property owned by the Green Hills Civic Association. It's 0.69 acres, waterfront property on Green Hill Pond. And I'm not, well, sometimes I feel like I do have waterfront property with the water in the road, but that's a whole other story. The assessment for the Green Hill Civic Association property is $69,700, while my land, Periwinkle Drive West, 0.23 acres, is not waterfront property and is assessed at $265,800. So I see that as a gap, and I see this as an area where I think it would be fair to reduce my assessment. And it was hard to find any comps at all for property that was for sale. However, there was a property for sale on my street, directly across the street. There's only 4 houses on the street and an empty lot. And it had been for sale for almost a year at a price of $200,000, and I know that they got one offer in the $40,000 to $50,000 range, and then they took the property off the market. That property is assessed at $252,000, and mine is at $265,800. So that's where I stand, and I'm hoping that you'll be able to make some adjustment, and please let me know if you have any questions.
Thank you, very well presented. Questions, board members?
I do have a question for you. On the photos you provided and the water and stuff, is that from this year?
Yes,
or
it is.
Okay. I will only say to you or to everyone here listening, we can only really focus on the year 2024 because that's the assessment you're appealing. So
I have pictures. I didn't know that. I have pictures from the year before as well.
Would you say that 2024 and 2026, it's similar?
It's similar, but
Okay,
getting,
so it's the same
increasing.
issues. Okay, all right.
And I have videos as well, but I don't know how to connect them.
Yep, no, that's fine. I just want to get an idea, because
Yeah.
again, it could have been perfect in '24 when the assessment was done, and now it's an issue which will be taken up with the next
Nope,
assessments.
it has gone on.
Okay.
Yep, thank you.
Thank you.
Brad, looks like you have a question.
No, that's a good point of clarification from Ken. And I thank you for the presentation. I think that we've had maybe one other appeal that involved issues of the private road issue, but I appreciate you bringing some data to our attention. You know, obviously, we don't have a sense of what the scale of the impact in terms of value impact is
Right.
in the absence of you know, closed sales. That give us a sense of the impact on market value, but certainly an active listing that expires, that has offers, you know, below asking. I mean, that gives us a sense of kind of the direction that this is impacting properties affected by that. So that is helpful for us to look at. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. And it isn't just the snow plowing, you know, it's potholes from lack of maintenance. They're huge, you know, and that's why I put some asphalt down in the pothole and got in trouble. All right.
It's a very good point, well taken. You know, I mean, who's going to be maintaining and paying for the roads if there's really no clear, you know, ownership and, you know, entity maintaining the right-of-way of the road?
Yeah.
Okay, anything else? That was really good. Only 1 minute over 10 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you.
It was my commentary.
Okay. Next item on the agenda is appeal number 118. Is there somebody here representing the appellant? You'll have to press that button on the right. It'll light up in red, and so will the microphone, this little thing here. And if you could state your name for the record when you start, that would be greatly appreciated.
Okay. My name is Stephen Severi. I'm the son of John and Inga. Inga's with me. John has unfortunately passed away during the course of this appeal. Like the other appellants, we are here to bring some additional data and information to our assessment, data that we think is extremely relevant to the proper assessment value of the home. I think about Robin's point a couple of sessions ago when she said, you know, she had an increase of $150,000. It was a huge amount of money. We don't have 150, we don't have 200, we don't have 250. We have nearly $300,000 increase in our assessment, which is roughly 50%, as she also said, from one day to the next, without any appreciable change in the status of our property. And that gets to basically the heart of how we'll frame it, which is what you've heard from others already. The properties that have been, are public record obviously, have been sold, have also been the result of extensive, I'm talking hundreds of thousands of dollars of improvements. We've had a property now for going on 15 years where we made, the family made improvements upon moving in and has not made any substantive improvements since then. We've included some pictures. I actually updated with a couple more of the property where you can see the normal wear and tear of grandkids and kids coming through has depreciated the property. And in fact, my mother, who is the occupant of 41 Shadow Farm, has wanted to make some improvements, but looking at and we're also a little bit unclear whether it's an 875 or 938 or 34 new assessment, is loath to do so to improve her lifestyle, because why would she want to now further improve something when the base has already been moved up $300,000. So I think point number one is, in terms of details, is that there's a number of properties who have had substantial $200,000, $300,000 of improvements, of renovations, and result in an $800,000 to $900,000 assessed value. We have done nothing, and we're previously assessed in the $600,000 range, and had this overnight bump of $300,000, an enormous amount of money for obviously somebody who's in her retirement. I think the two properties, and is that a view of the property there? All right. So I think the two really, really relevant properties in this would be, we live in a horseshoe, and we're at one end of the horseshoe, and the other end of the horseshoe is more or less a mirror unit of ours. and they're at $790,000. A property that was more recently sold, and I heard the point about more recent data is not really applicable here, but there has to be some halo effect or anti-halo effect. Was sold for $1.15 million and has a $900,000 and change assessment. So the bump in our assessed value, having again done nothing in terms and have not proven that we could resell it for this, and the property that sold for 1.15 is known. The whisper number was $300,000 of renovations, and then they sold it. You back that out, you're back in the 700s. Our assessed value has moved us to be one of the, I think, the second highest assessed value of the 70-plus units in Shadow Farm. So again, we're really struggling. I think one of the prior appellants talked about a 2-mile radius. We provided a list of properties within Shadow Farm, stating the case that we're extraordinarily above what we think the mean is, the average is, particularly when you consider improvements. And then elsewhere, if we go a little bit farther out with comparable properties outside of Shadow Farm, I believe it reiterates the case that we're we're an extraordinary data point on a chart of a more tightly clustered value of properties, both within and outside of Shadow Farm. I think some very, very detailed points. You wanted to say a couple words about how we're listed on the database versus what the actual unit looks like in terms of numbers of rooms and such things.
Oh, right. I guess, I'm not into this. This is my first time. And I guess there was a counting of the rooms, like total rooms of 8, no, it's only 5.5. 3 full bathrooms, no, it's only 2. And then the ground floor has a kitchen and a living room. And then I have a bedroom downstairs. Upstairs there are 3 rooms. And I guess in total, 8 rooms, but it's only 5.5 rooms. And we have a very unfinished basement, which we could never do anything to because the ceilings are very low and all the piping for air conditioning and whatever is running through it. So anyhow, I had plans to redo the kitchen, but if I'm assessed with this amount, I won't do it. So anyhow, that's my little...
The final point, getting away from the numbers, is a little bit related to what the property is, and they make there's a point we read, I can't pull it up right now, but about having a lake view. So 3 of our 3.5 sides of the property do not face the water. Face the parking lot. They face they face north. Inside the property, and then I think we submitted, actually I have an updated thing I can send later, but if you're going to contemplate this to April, there's one window that you can see, and then as we make the point, which is practically speaking, the homeowners council will not prune anything, so practically speaking it's all overgrown anyway. So I think we don't understand why all of a sudden having a water view would be incremental to to the value. It's always been there. It's been there 100 million years ago. It's going to be there in 100 million years. It didn't suddenly increase the value of the property. So I think for the numbers, both specific to Shadow Farm, outside of Shadow Farm, the renovation layer that goes into why these sales prices are what they are and our lack of doing it, plus some of the tactical points about the property are data points we hope are considered during the next month or so and roll it back much closer to where we were than where we are starting from.
Our views.
I already talked. Yeah. That's our case.
Thank you. I just have a question. I noticed you submitted Exhibit A, some other assessments in Shadow Farm. It's my understanding that we're looking at values from 2024. So do you have any idea what the date, were these from the 2024 data or?
So we're only as good as the viz or the GIS. We just plugged in the numbers. I mean, I can certainly take some time this afternoon and look through them again and scrape it for you.
I don't think you really have to. I was just trying to get an idea what the dates were on these values, that's all.
Yeah,
Yeah, okay.
we pulled together a lot of information. I didn't know that question was, I don't know what I don't know, so I didn't.
I'm correct on this, right? We're talking 2024, everybody. I just want to make sure we have a good understanding here.
Correct.
So like, like I'm looking at Exhibit B, and, I'm not trying to be critical or anything, but what we're supposed to be looking at is 2024. So out of these, I don't know, I guess there's 5 or 6 listed here. The ones that I've circled here are 2024 sales. So we're really, should not be looking at the 2025 sales when we're trying to, just discuss this. I'm just making a point here.
I still think if you take the 2 on the 24, you're looking at 645 and 780, which is, by my math, old school, is a lot less than 940.
I perfectly understand that. I'm not disputing what's on the 2024, sales. I'm just saying that we're
But wouldn't
focused on
that
the
also
24.
make the case that if we're talking about we are talking about 2024 and we're at 938, it would seem even more emphatic that, some of the sales that happened in Shadow Farm were 2025, maybe 26 even. And so this, our increase in assessed value occurred even prior to this in an environment of, lower prices. So I can go back and send it to Wendy after the meeting and double check the dates of these assessments.
May I just ask one
Okay,
question?
thank you.
Because I just want to make sure we've got the right adjustments on your property. We've got a couple of different areas there. You're saying the Horseshoe in Vision World. We've got Manor, Carriage, Barn, and Garden Village. Does that ring a bell? Would you know which bucket you'd be in for a view?
So I heard Manor and Carriage.
Manor,
Yeah.
Carriage, Barn, and Garden Village. I have a map, I just don't have it with me now.
No, we're not Manor Lodge. That Manor's the first property.
Yes.
It's an apartment.
And I'm
Lodge
pretty
is
familiar
at
with the
very
Carriage and
end.
the Barn, so I want to say Garden Village, but does that sound
But I think
reasonable?
the Garden Village is actually the interior, and they have like a little walled area, so I
All
don't
right,
know.
I'll double, when we go into the decision-making in between now and then, I'm going to do a little research, run a spreadsheet similar to what we did at Envine and at Brandywine, because I'm actually, aside from this, would want to do that for the other appellant at Shadow Farm. And then I'm noticing there is a unit adjustment for a View Plus. There's no View Plus. And then there's some floor adjustments. So I want to just get that on a spreadsheet, look at a map, and I'll have that for you for the
But I think
decision-making phase.
For a prior presentation, when somebody talked about, 2 miles out, they can see on paper, oh, this is the Manor. I mean, we're like literally right next to each other. And I don't know over time how that all got delineated.
Well, that's what I'm curious about, if there was some older adjustment or something, but I'm not 100% sure. So between now and the decision-making phase for April, when we're really digging in and having the discussion and the board will have questions, I'll make sure I have some information so that they can do their job.
And my curiosity, I think, goes in that direction as well. In the condo developments, what helps us make decisions is taking a look at how the properties within the development are assessed. Also, if you could add to my wish list would be, because I know that so condominium unit sales in the period leading up to the assessment, there was an increase town-wide in condo sale value, as I understand it. And this is all the condos in the town. So I would be interested in what the data points were. If you could add that to, just before we get to decision, I don't need to know now, but just what sales were used to determine a unit price for the units in Shadow Farm. Also, how was that refined within Shadow Farm between, because I know there's units of all different kind of types in there. So I'd want to see sales. And if there are sales within, so this is the sales within Shadow Farm, what happens, I think, sometimes is there's 2 sales in a development, but those 2 sales were the ones that had the interiors fully renovated.
100%,
so
that's the one
they
I
sell
pointed
at
out.
1.1 million,
Yep.
and then that becomes the data point for Vision
Right.
to apply across the development, when in fact, not all of the units have been improved to that degree. And I do think sometimes it's hard because they don't always know which units are renovated and which
100%.
aren't. So but if we can kind of fill the gap in kind of knowledge and information, we could, I think we
think
should,
that's
we have one other appeal in Shadow Farm where I do think a similar thing might be going on, so I think a
It's
global
almost to a
look.
T, and I think they're right up
Global
there
look at
with
Shadow
value.
Farm, how are the unit costs being derived, how are they supported, and then taking a look at
And
improvements
just
that were
one
made.
quick point,
Yeah.
which you raised, is that the two other units that are, one blocks us from the lake, so they have the lake view, and the one next to them, they both face south, so the whole side of their house, or their unit is facing the lake, and they're assessed at less than we are. So whatever the trends are, the static data points are what they are too.
Right. I think this gives a sign that we just have to take a closer look to make sure that things aren't being skewed. And I think it's especially hard to do in the condo developments, to just really make sure we get down to the unit by unit.
I think that there's not much difference in the individual units. They're pretty much the same layout and numbers. You know, there are two types that are, it's not that one is a big, huge thing and the other is small or different layers, so they're all the same. So, you know.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll get to know. I think we'll when we come to the meeting where we make a decision, we'll just kind of do a deeper dive into that so we understand what's happening in there. But thank you for bringing all that to our attention
And
too.
just one more thing from my side. I wanted to redo my kitchen, but if I'm assessed at such a price, I don't think I want to bother, so
Okay,
prevents me from improving. So anyhow.
thank you.
Just I also could offer my my sympathy for your loss earlier this year. I'm very sorry for your loss.
Thank you very much. Next item on the agenda is appeal number 119, South Jerry Cove homeowner. I did build a house in there several years ago for a client of ours, so I am, out of an abundance of caution, I'm going to recuse myself. So, you want to carry on, Brad?
Yeah, we can pass things over to the gentleman making the appeal and take it from there. But yeah, sure thing, David.
Before you state your name for the record, I'm just going to hand out additional information that we received after you received your binders, okay? So I'm just going to pass those down.
All set?
I think we're ready, yeah. You have the floor.
Good, good. Thanks. Good morning. My name's Jim Leach. I represent South Jerry Cove Homeowners Association. I apologize for that late package. I was working with my appraiser, and we really weren't able to get together until a couple of days ago, and unfortunately, he wasn't able to get here today. So just to kind of get started, I received an appraisal for our association property on December 31st of 2024, and was a little bit surprised to see it had not changed. It was still at $7 million, 7 plus, but kind of went with it. I was happy with the news. Unfortunately, about 3 months later, I got a reappraisal, and the property of 4.62 acres had doubled to over 15 million. Didn't really understand what had happened, but we went through with the appeal. We did the original appeal that I think you probably have seen, and the focus was kind of on what we thought was an exorbitant increase with no particular reason applied. So we tried to get into that, and we talked about the square footage, the 10 lots, and just how it seemed like it was overpriced at 1.4 million per lot. And these lots are definitely under a half an acre apiece. You'll see in the package I just gave you an aerial view of South Jerry Cove Homeowners Association. And so, that was our approach. And then the other half of our approach with the appeal was to try to compare it to a common property. Homeowners associations are kind of rare, so we worked with Jerry Brown Farm, which is just to the north of us, almost bordering us, okay? Which is quite a few more acres, but we were trying to do the comparison. In our original appeal, I don't think we did a real good job of making that comparison with Jerry Brown. We felt, from what we could see of the figures we had, that they were assessed lower disproportionately from us, but we really just kind of spoke to it. So when the appeal decision came back, it was obvious that our attempt for sympathy on the added figures for property on the water wasn't going to go very far, okay? And that's fine. And we realized that we didn't necessarily address the comparison with Jerry Brown the way we probably needed to. So today, the new package you have here is kind of focusing on that. We were struggling because Jerry Brown Farm has 36 homes on what's considered 18 acres. It's actually 70 acres, but 52 of those acres are considered to be non-whatever, and so they're assessed considerably less. So we were trying to compare our 15 million assessment to theirs, and if you took all their 36 houses and divided by the assessment, yeah, it was a lot lower, but you had to consider the fact that a lot of those houses were not waterfront like ours. They had water views, they had water access, but they were not necessarily waterfront. So we had pulled the field card for ourselves a long time ago to kind of look at it, but what we did in this process was pull the field card for Jerry Brown. And fortunately, what we found was the way Jerry Brown's assessment is laid out is it's in 4 parts, and I think it has to do with access to the water, visibility to the water. I'm not sure what the 4 are, but if you look at that, field card for Jerry Brown, and you go down to where I've got an asterisk and it says waterfront, you'll see that they actually break that out, and they say that there are 11 properties, houses, lots that are considered to be waterfront, and they've broken out the separate value for that. To be honest with you, I thought, if you look at the pictures of Jerry Brown versus us, and you look at the house placement, it looks like it's a lot more than 11, but I mean, right now, in order to do apples to apples, we're going with the 11 spots. They do represent quite a bit more land than our individual lots. They do have probably 3 times the waterfront than we have. But just to be fair, we're just doing a 1-to-1 with that. So I didn't do the math. It was suggested I didn't. But if you do the math for our current property, and then you do the math for the 11 waterfront properties, I don't want to say it's considerably less, but it's less. They have a lot more to work with. That's fine. Ours are, again, it's waterfront, but they're pretty tight on a very small piece of land with probably 20% of wetlands in the back that we really can't do anything with, which I'd hope would come into consideration. So I guess our request is that you compare our new assessment. Again, I'm not 100% sure where the new assessment came from, but you compare our new assessment for our 10 lots, which happen to just be on 4.62 acres, to their assessment for the 11 lots, and do the math, and I'd like to try to bring our assessment in line with theirs. That's the request. Or maybe less, certainly, given some of the factors I just mentioned, which is the excess property they have for those 11 lots and the excess waterfront and lack of wetland.
I'm,
That's it?
I'm following along.
Okay.
So in the, we're in the Jerry Brown Farm field card, and they've isolated 11 sites
Yep.
that have looks like and the assessor can correct me if I'm wrong too. This is where we're going to look, right? They look like they had, I mean, reading glasses for this too. It looks like they've got,
Yeah, I apologize.
no, those are, they have like a
Those are my computer skills, yes.
some kind of factor of 4, which relates to their waterfront characteristic. So those 11 homes have a land assessment totaling, I think it looks like $13,179,760. And that is like the piece of the development
My
that most
understanding
compares
is,
to you.
yeah, that piece, and you can kind of count them on the picture I gave you. It looks like more than 11, but I guess 11 considered to be waterfront. My understanding of the field card is that that's been broken out separately, and that represents those 11 designated waterfront properties or lots.
Kind of like their contribution to because the total value of that underlying land is like 27 million, right? But they've obviously, it's weighted more towards the properties
Yeah,
that are
if we-
closer
so-
to the waterfront.
Right.
That
And what we did with our first appeal was we didn't have the details, so we took those 20, I think it's closer to 26 million when you take out the other 52-acre value. But if you divided that by 36, yeah, it was a lot less. I
Right.
think it was closer to 750,000 per lot. But again, that really wasn't fair in a sense that we're talking waterfront lots, and a number of those were not, okay? So by being able to lock into the waterfront lots, we're thinking we have a better apples-to-apples comparison. And also, just by looking at the picture of the aerial that contains both Jerry Brown and South Jerry Cove, you can see just the magnitude of land represented by the waterfront property and the water access itself, okay?
Yeah.
So we kind of were hoping that would be taken into consideration as well.
And you've got, what, is it 10 lots?
We have 10.
So you're saying, you're like, we've got 10 lots assessed at 14 million, and we should take a look at, in this other property, 11 lots assessed at 13 million. Something, it's like that, this is the magnitude, essentially.
I mean, right now, if I do apples to apples, that's the best I can do, okay?
Yeah, I haven't done the math either,
Yeah,
but
and I've
I want to get
done
my
the
calculator
math,
out.
and I've got the figures here, and
So you're not asking, you don't want to go back to the 7
No,
million?
no.
You're just
no, I
saying
don't.
that you're a little on the high
I'd be kind
end?
of curious why the 7 million went to 14.
Yeah. I read a note, I know that our time's up. It looks like I read a note that this parcel was missed for a cycle, is that? Yeah, okay.
Not fully missed, but
Yeah, the
we
pro-
can't go backwards, we can only go forwards. But during the decision-making phase, I can answer all the questions. This wouldn't be the venue to do it now, out of respect for the others waiting for their time, but I have all the answers as far as what the difference is.
Yeah, and I think I actually understand the point you're making very well, comparing that, you're kind of isolating the most comparable portion of the comparable development
Yeah.
to yours. That
And
makes,
again,
we can take a look at that.
I think you understand, we expected an increase. It didn't happen in 2021. If it was going to happen, I thought it would happen in 2024, if they were aware of the fact that it hadn't happened in 2021. But Vision Government Solutions came through with the same value. A little bit of a surprise, but not the same surprise as doubling it to 14 million.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah, for
So, so that's kind of where we are. So that's the only comparison, if, since we're kind of past any sympathy for property on the water, that's the only comparison I can really make, apples to apples. It's not going to bring it down where we'd like to, which would be somewhere about halfway between the 7 million and the 14 million. But we'd like you to consider it.
Yeah, I think we could take a closer look. I think we get the point that's being made here. And it actually is, I think, a helpful way to kind of narrow down.
Okay.
Rather than say, hey, this is a big waterfront lot, what could we do? Waterfront
Yeah,
values went
exactly.
up,
We
you
tried
know.
that, that didn't work.
But we
Okay,
can
yeah.
kind of like zoom in a little closer on
Okay.
that when we get to the decision.
Any other questions? No? Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay. Next item on the agenda is Appeal Number 123, Jeffrey and Kerry Burdick. Is there somebody here representing the appellant? Come on up. If you could, the button on the right operates the microphone, and whoever's going to do the present, if they could state their name for the record, that would be appreciated.
Before you state your name for the record, I'm just going to hand out some additional documentation that Mrs. Burdick did try to get us, but we had a little IT glitch. It was a Google Doc. We're not allowed to click the link. Anyway, I got the PDFs this morning, so I'm going to hand them down.
Sorry about that. My name's Carrie Burdick. It's my husband, Jeff, and we're at 66 River Heights Drive. The two pieces of paper, I think, that you just received, one is like another letter, so it's a kind of an adjustment to the one we had made in the initial appeal. And then the second is just a little spreadsheet that kind of has a few of the comparison properties in our neighborhood that were built by the same builder. So anyway, so we were just thinking, we're here because we feel the house was disproportionately assessed, and we think it's due to the custom classification, or that really leads to it. And I know that seems to have caused a lot of problems with some of the homes. So I was trying to get the, definition of the, what is a custom home, and Vision Appraisal is saying that it's, use of an architect, and it's customized to the owners. And there's high-end materials exclusively and workmanship, et cetera. So, we didn't use an architect with this house. The builder had purchased, I think he had purchased a plan online, and he was doing the house as a spec. So when we signed the P&S, it was already up and framed and whatever. So we got to pick colors and finishes, but we're, it's pretty much, he built another house. There's 4 houses sort of that he built, purchased the property from the diocese. So there's 4 houses together. Ours was the last one built. 2 are on River Heights, 2 are on Peckham Ave. And so the outsides of all the houses do look different. And I know that it's hard, you wouldn't just classify our house as a colonial, but the others are all classified as colonial. And I think that's what's bumping ours up, kind of crazy. The houses in the neighborhood went up, the average assessment increase, I think, was 22%, and ours went up 71%. So it went from like 1,154 all the way up to almost 2,19735. So that was rather shocking. So we purchased it for 1.1 in 2023, and then there was an increase that same year in the assessment up to the 11545. That was fine. So anyway, we did the first appeal, and there was a $21-something thousand reduction. They reduced, so that was still an increase, though, of 69% in the assessment. So let's see. So there's a couple of different things that we noticed the second time around when we were sort of pouring through the details, that when there was a reduction made on the after our first appeal, the assessment of the home went down by $100,000, but then the land went up 48%, which was kind of weird. The house next to us was built by the same builder. It's just, I think, 2 years older than ours. The finishes are the same inside. We have the same tile. We've been in that house. We've been in another house. It's all the same finishes. It's lovely. I'm not saying it's not a nice home, but they're not super high end, and
the point is that these houses all have the same finishes. And we just happen to get bumped into that custom category, which I think really skews it. The land, there's a land issue. Our house and the house next door, we sit at a pretty high elevation. They're both the exact same size property, but I think in that little spreadsheet here, same size acreage. Where's 84? We are now the land is assessed at 243.3, and next door is at 221.6. And on our field card, there's a little note that says view, and there's a bump up, but we don't have any trees on our property, so that might lead you to believe that we have some spectacular view, but the other trees and the houses, block that. And the other point is that next to us, they're sitting at pretty much the same elevation, if not a little higher, and they don't have any adjustment on there. So for our land to sort of make this big jump all of a sudden was kind of strange. We did pull a permit, I think it was December 23? No. We've pulled a permit to do like a small like plunge pool patio, but that hadn't even started yet. It's on the field card, but it's still not complete. But it was not anywhere, it wasn't even started in 2024. So I don't know if that is a factor or whatever, but anyway, so basically I think the issue is that it's the custom, the custom category again. And, we have a definite issue with, there's some things in the home, we still have a leaking ceiling, that hasn't been addressed by the builder. There's steps on the outside that are sinking, and we have an open permit on the driveway. So there's, a big issue with that. There's an erosion control permit that was never closed. So, a lot of the driveway materials running into the street, the builder has been not fined by the town, but there's been a notice of violation, et cetera. And that's something that we are dealing with and spending a lot of money on with litigation. Let me just think if there's anything else. So basically, the land was kind of, different. Why, compared to the other houses, are we, on our street, actually, I think the average increase, there's only 13 houses on the street. The average increase for the land was about 30% for all the houses. Ours went up 48%. And then the average increase in the regular and the assessment was 22%, and ours went up like 69%. The houses on the street, with the exception of next door, they're a combination of ranch, colonial, raised ranch. It's a mix of homes, and the other homes are older than ours and the neighbors. But anything to add?
No, I don't think we don't anticipate an increase. I just think that we feel as though the percentage increase versus the other homes in the neighborhood is disproportionate.
Any
questions? In our first interview, we acknowledged that we felt as though 1.4 to 1.5 was appropriate, and we had the numbers, and I think those numbers are in there.
Questions, comments from the board members?
No, thank you for all of the information. I'm sorry, Ken. I was curious.
No, I was just saying I don't have a question, Brett. Go ahead.
Okay. So there was a purchase. I'm just curious where the $1.1 million, that was your whole purchase price for the property?
Yeah.
And that was, I guess you went into agreement on that in like 2021 or?
No.
Or what was the, just
No,
the
it was
timing?
2020, when did we close?
22.
It was 2022, the end of 2022.
Right, that included land and
Yes.
building. And then and your building plans, you had some input into the material selection along the way. The
Yeah,
building plans were purchased online.
Right, some paints, yeah.
Yeah.
We picked up hardware, for the doors. But, the floor plan was pretty much set the way it.
Yeah, and so you kind of opined a fair market value of $1.4 million, and that's kind of just based, I'm assuming that's based on, well, we bought it for 1.1, and we assume some appreciation along the way, or have you received an appraisal?
We haven't done an official appraisal. We've just been spending so much other money on attorneys and other issues with the house
Right.
that, I just felt if it's necessary, we can do it, but we just hadn't gone down that.
Yeah, and
Based on the square footage and what we see as the appropriate per square foot value, we came to that conclusion, based on the information we.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of it's hard to find comps with this custom. You know, it seems like earlier, a few years back, all the new homes just kind of got dumped into a colonial, because I have friends that live in a house that is classified as a colonial, but it's not really, but, you know, so I just feel like it's this custom thing, and looking at a comp is like 9 miles away near the water, so.
Yeah, no, so this property at 495 Congdon that is included in our packet, did you share that with us? Because we have I'm just like what I have your.
That was the basis of their appeal, the 495 Congdon, that was one of their comps.
Yeah, that one is, the style on that one is colonial, and I look at the picture, and I'm like,
It doesn't look really.
I've lost a lot of understanding about what a colonial, conventional, modern, contemporary, and custom is, first of all. You know, and this is one, if 495 Congdon is a colonial, then anything can be a colonial, right? And I think, I mean, to your point, the unit cost on that one, $218 a square foot is a base cost, new, as a colonial, and then your base cost, once it gets dumped into the custom bucket, $480.46 a square foot. So, I think what's driving the difference is your classification, and it would be easier to accept a classification of custom for yours if other properties were also of a similar design were put in the same bucket rather than colonial or other. Not the first time this has come up, so and that's where I will probably focus my attention when we come to the decision-making phase. I think that's all I have. And the assessor, I just want to ask about this. The assessor included, this is neighborhood or factors for the land value.
I was just double checking to make sure that we were on trend as far as there was a comment from the Reval company for a view.
Yeah.
That first main landline was just a little bit higher than your average 1.00 is 1.10. So I just wanted to make sure, because that had been problematic in some of the appeals of the season, to just make sure we were in line.
Yeah,
so
we'll
I just
take a
gave you the
look at
visual there if you wanted to do that.
The comments about the impact of the view designation on land value, we could take a closer look at that when we, just to dot our i's and cross our t's. What happened with so they made an initial appeal to, was it Vision that changed it and then made the land value go up as they adjusted what's going on with that?
Let me take a peek at the history. I can do that now or during the decision-making phase, but I can make a note that we can
I'm going to
look
make
at
a note to ask about that.
Okay, we'll look at the visit history.
I mean, at the very least, next door, literally, it's the same exact piece of property. Theirs is more landscape than ours. Their driveway is working, you know, it's in place. And they had the 29% increase, and ours went up. Ours initially had a lower land value. Ours was 164.1, and theirs was 171.5. And then after the review, then it went up. Ours went up to 243.3, and theirs is at 221.6, which is they had the average increase of the street, and we did not. So.
I understand. I'm just always interested in kind of like the journey that people take along the way to get, before they get to us, what they
I have
kind
a
of
note
encounter.
that there was a hearing on March 24th and that there was no change. And then when I have an assessment history where we do a interim save and a final, and then the bills go out, and that can change depending on if I revisit building tables or whatever based off of hearings. So the informal hearings and the interim save prior to certifying, it was at 1973, and then I finalized the value at 19513.
Yeah, the building came down, but the land went up. It's still, still high.
Yep.
I think the first hearing was when you called Vision Appraisal and just talked to them, and I was like, what's this custom? And they said, oh, you know it when you see it. And I said, okay.
It's not the first time we've heard that, and that is they can't ever say that again to anybody.
Yeah,
please.
and I called them actually several times and said, there has to be a definition, So.
There is a definition. It's whether the definition is adequate is also debatable, but
Should be more
you know it when you see it, definitely.
Yeah, we're still trying to figure that out, or we're not really in agreement with the definition, and we're still kind of it's kind of a gray area, I guess, to put it honestly.
I think it would be easier to deal with if the unit cost difference wasn't like literally double the like you either are in half or double, and that's our issue. It's hard. It's been hard to reckon.
Yeah, I mean, it's just because we have these comps of the same builder. You know, that's what, I know the finishes are the same, so I don't consider them, again, it's a lovely home, but it's not like, super high-end. So.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other questions, comments from the board members? Are we good? Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda is appeal number 124. And it is Martha Lynch and Martha Landry, I guess. Is there anybody here representing the appellant?
Martha and Bill Landry. I think a lot of what we were going to say has been covered. This whole issue of what's custom and what's not custom resonates in spades with us. That's kind of the heart of the issue here. We did provide a very detailed appeal package. I know I've only got 10 minutes. There are pictures of every other comparable house and every imaginable metric associated with them for comparison purposes. I won't go through all that. Again, I know you've got it, but I do have a couple of bullet points.
Is this more of a summation, sir?
Pardon me?
Is this more of a summation?
Just
here
a
that-
summation, yeah, and I'll summarize that.
Yeah, no,
So
great.
we'll get it done with. I have a lot of respect for your time, and I know how hard you're working. So we've got an overall assessment of $2,002,000 and change, $1,950,000 for the house, $306,000 for the land. We've got a very small house. We moved from a condominium in North Providence, and we live in an area that's about the same size as our condo was in North Providence. It's a 2,421 square foot house. The smallest building envelope in Spartina Cove. The developer originally plotted a 900 square foot footprint. We had to spend a year at CRMC and the town to get a setback variance to push it closer to the street and push it out of the coastal setbacks and buffers, which are just a few feet from the back of our house. But we were able to manage a house that's very simple, 2 boxes, a pitched roof, Cape-style house. There's nothing custom about it. Our builder had built several other houses in the same development. We had close friends who were building a house at the same time in East Matunic Farms. We got the same contract, the same materials, the same allowances, the same subcontractors. Nothing custom about this house. Every house at Spartina is very well maintained, very well updated. They're all highly comparable, and I think the photographs we've provided will bear that out. So when we completed the house in late 2022, our first assessment was not the last revaluation, but a special assessment for this property, and it was at $1.5 million all in, house and building. And then 12 months later, the assessment jumped to $2.5 million, and then after vision appraisal, $2.2 million. And of course, the biggest moving factor was this custom designation that was attached to the house. That increase, by the way, was about a 75% increase in our assessment over the course of 12 months. We provided a schedule in our letter that showed that all of the others were somewhere between 9% and 16%. One was 5% less, one was 22%, but we're up at about 75% for the house, $1.2 million to to almost $2 million. The effective assessment per square foot for our house is $810 a square foot. The average of the other houses at Spartina is $259, except for two houses. One of them's a 5-bedroom house, almost twice as big as ours, but that was assessed at $528 per square foot. And then another one, over 3,700 square feet, was assessed at 567 square feet. Those are all constructed at the same time as our house, but ours ends up with an effective square footage of 810. And part of that problem, and this was something that was pointed out to Vision Appraisal, and it was also pointed out at the assessor level, though I know everybody's very busy and maybe not focused, but we provided the building plans for the house. The house is 2,421 square feet. The first level where we live is 2,017 square feet. 1,965 square feet. Vision had it at 2017. And then the upper level is only a half story. It's 725 square feet on the plans and as built. And Vision had it at 1,235 square feet. They also had a non-existent 3/4 story of 70 feet. We don't have a 3/4 story. There's an inaccessible attic. The only thing that's in it is our Wi-Fi upgrade equipment. We've never even been there. You need an extension ladder to get in and crawl through a little space into a crawl space. So that clearly should never have been counted. So that $903 square feet, even at the highest level of assessment per square feet, gets you somewhere between $600,000 and $700,000 less in assessment for our house. If you take the $528 a square foot that was used for 185 Spartina and apply our actual square footage, the assessment would be $1,278,000 for the house, as opposed to almost $2 million. If you used, and that's right next door to us. Across the street, again, these houses were built roughly at the same time. 216 Spartina at $567 a square foot would produce $1,373,000 for our house, as opposed to almost $2 million. And then 244 Spartina, two houses away, also built at the same time, was $344 a square foot. There's a typo in my notes, but the 344 is indicated in the next bullet. That house is just a little bigger than ours at 2,482 square feet. For reasons we can't understand, that the Richardsons, our neighbors, challenged their assessment. They had the same shock as we did. Almost $1 million over the whole custom business. They went to Vision, and Vision made an adjustment of $700,000 to their house, to an overall value of $832,000 for their house, which is a little bigger than ours, and a corresponding assessment per square foot of $344. The most recent sales, there was a sale in December of 2024, not 2023, it's 2024, right next door, 185, that big 5-bedroom house, the biggest house in the development, and by far the largest lot, and having waterfront access. That was the $528 a square foot that we just discussed. And as a reality check here, I realize it was in 2025, but it's the actual most recent sale that we're aware of in Spartina Cove, and it's 37 Spartina Cove, very similar house to ours. I believe that was the same builder, the first two houses in the development. That sold in last November at $1.8 million. The land assessment, I've got the book and page number here. The land assessment, current land assessment, is $341. So that would yield about $1.5 million for that sale. And again, that's in the range of that was $570 per square foot. So applied to our house, that would drop the value to somewhere around $1.3 million. And there's a pending sale of 100 Spartina. It's marked pending. We looked at it this morning. House sale, very nice house, larger than ours. And that's pending at $311 a square foot. The total price of that house, land and house, and all of our lots are the same, is $1,395,000, and we're up $1 million more than that. So there's something seriously wrong. I think we can't find a definition of custom. I won't belabor that, but I suggest to you, and you have experience in the business, someone walking through these nice houses in Spartina, all updated, isn't going to pay a nickel more for our house because it's got that number next to it buried somewhere in an assessment, and nobody's got a definition. They're all looking at the same houses, the same lots. We all have the same access down to the pond. There's nothing indistinguishable, and it's a wonderful neighborhood. And we've been in almost every one of those houses, and they are meticulously updated and maintained, highly comparable. The whole development's less than 20 years old. There's not a single custom house in that development. There's one under construction now that's been recently occupied, but that house wasn't even sold until a year after this assessment was made. So we would ask you to reconsider the decision that was made. We know that this is a statistical revaluation. We're not blaming anybody. It's impossible to get everything right in a statistical assessment, but the whole purpose of this appeal process is to bring things to your attention, this discovery phase, that underscore and identify clear outlier error situations. And I think that that's what we've got here for a lot of the same reasons other people here feel that they've been overassessed as well.
Thank you. Questions, comments from the board? Very nice presentation. The data's great. It gets right to the point. I understand where you're going with this, and I can see that something needs to be discussed here, in looking at this. If there's no other questions, comments, then we'll move on to the next one. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Chances are very slim we're going to have the time to do that. So most likely it will be in the next meeting, which is on the 8th of April, and then after that you'll get the results.
Thank you.
Well, we're going to probably go till about 12:30, 12:40. That's usually our limit, and then we'll go from there. But I mean, we're not going to get to this today. So if you want to come back on the 8th and listen, you can. And what we do is we do close. After today, if we get through all of the people on the agenda here, we are going to close a public hearing. So it'll be a board, it'll be a public meeting, and anybody's welcome to attend on the April 8th meeting. But we're going to be discussing this amongst ourselves and, trying to work up a solution here or a reevaluation for this, what we've been talking about.
And we're still up on YouTube, right? So people can, now that you know it, you can tune in anytime.
Yeah, you don't have to come back here unless you really want to.
I'm going to take a brief bathroom break.
All right.
But I can be fast if you want to start, or if you want to.
Why don't we? It's already late. Let's take a 10-minute break. We'll reconvene at 11:30.
Sounds good.
Okay, recess is over. Board is back in session. We have appeal number 127. Is there somebody here representing the appellant?
Hi, Dave Giat, 118B Driver Lane. First time doing anything like this, so bear with me just a little bit. I put together, and I'm not a real estate guy either, so I put together an original sheet that I included with the petition. That includes properties that I pulled off of Zillow and Redfin and so forth, showing sales of, in my unprofessional opinion, different houses with different values, including condos that have values that were assessed at quite a bit less than what I was looking at. For some of the houses that were fully owned with the property included, 2 of them had private beach access, assessed at considerably less than my own home. I didn't receive back, so basically my valuation went up 40% in 2 years. And that was hard for me to stomach, so that's why I petitioned. The condo properties that are listed here have more square footage and similar amenities but are valued much lower. 2 of the single-family homes have private beach access with full town services, valued 33% lower. One of the single-family houses abuts the neighborhood of South Shore Village, and they have full access to property owner rights to join the golf club or anything else, and that is $400,000 less than my own home. I know it's been 2 years, and I did make some improvements to the property. We added an office downstairs for myself. My wife owns the den, and she earned it. And we did add a screen porch in the back, but they were not considerable improvements. They were minor, in my estimation. I estimate them minor. What I did receive back from the office was a sheet that had a bunch of properties that were the same style home as mine. All the homes that are being created in South Shore Village are kind of cookie cutter. So the Seabreeze model that I own is the same Seabreeze model as everyone that has a Seabreeze right down my street and every other street, and including the new developments or the new phases that have been put in. They're all exactly the same. They all have the same square footage. The difference would be that in the newer ones, those properties are actually abutting the golf course, very more attractive lots, more expensive lots, so forth and so on. And they have a lot more upgrades available to them. So their kitchens, the appliances, and a few other things are much higher in terms of the value plus the cost, right? So they had options to make their house nicer and, prettier, whatever. And then I go down the list and I see, for instance, and this was what kind of confused me as well, like 100 Driver Lane, Dan Tobin. I know the Tobins, their house is valued at $20K less than me. It's the same exact house, and he has actually more improvements in his house. I have houses that came online. Putter Circle abuts the golf course. That home at 20 Putter Circle is $45K valued less than me. There's a new one on Birdie Court, which abuts the golf course. That house is $50K less than me. So I was confused, and I don't understand everything about all these valuations either.
Excuse me, I'm sorry, what was that last address, did you say? That was 50K less?
30 Birdie Court. So on its face, again, I'm not an expert, so on its face, it didn't seem to line up to me, right? It didn't seem equitable. And I don't know, based on all the conversations that I heard before me, if I'm allowed to include houses from other neighborhoods that are in town. They do receive all their services, including house lots.
You're certainly allowed to give us the information.
Okay,
We just try to keep as many apples to apples comparisons as we possibly can.
Okay, very
And it has to be within the year 2024. Anything that's sold in 25, 26 is irrelevant to what we're trying to do today, if that makes sense.
That part I'm a little confused about as well.
So this is an assessment for your 24 assessment. So we can only look at 24. Anything after that or even before that is 100% irrelevant to what we can comprehend.
Right, that's the part I'm confused about, why it's irrelevant. In other words, here's why I'm wondering why it's irrelevant. So for instance, the house that was on Putter's Circle, which is also adjoining and abutting the golf course, that sale was in January of '25. So that's a brand spanking new house that has more amenities than my own, even though it's the same footprint, but it's $45K less valuation than my own.
And then your next evaluation, that one, well, they're going to take a 3-year average, but the assessment you are appealing is your
Okay, I get it.
2024 assessment.
Now I
So
get
that's all we can equate to that. That's why. For all intents and purposes, we are going back in time, and we're just looking at 24. Anything that even if you ask the one with the flooding, if it wasn't, the road wasn't flooding in 24 and it's flooding now, we just can't take that into consideration. And she said it was the same, so I can, if that makes sense. But that's the
No,
data
that part, now that makes sense.
driven.
Your 3-year average, and then the next,
Yeah,
now I get it.
So this is what, that time period that you're assessing, and then next year, as Wendy will tell you, there's gonna be a completely re-one, and then, you can have another crack at it, if you will.
Per state statute, every 3 years, we have a reval cycle. So in 2021, it's a full reval, which is a full measure and list. Every house gets knocked. We try to update all the photos, everything. Unfortunately, that happened during COVID, so our baseline has some challenges, right? We can only move forward at that point. Now, every 3 years, so we just finished a statistical. In 3 more years, another statistical. 3 more years after that, in 2030 is another full. So it's checks and balances in between a 9-year full reval cycle. When you have the full reval, it's always 1 year prior to for sales. So it's not really a 3-year average. It's the year of the reval, those sales. Now, as an assessor, if there's no data set, I need a data set, so I may go back a year or two, but we don't usually have to do that for single-family homes or condos.
It does seem like there's ample data here, looking at what you provided, so there's a lot of sale activity. And just, because you've raised a couple of properties to our attention, just looking at, and really not looking at the sale prices necessarily, but just the different assessments. For example, the property at 20 Putter's Circle, it's assessed at $771. Now, they bought it for $776 within like 10 days of the assessment date. So they're actually, if they're assessed for $771, they bought it for $776 10 days, or 10 days later. That kind of shows that it's in, theirs is in line. Now, you're assessed at $815, so it's higher than theirs, and your property is a couple years older. So that's right. I mean, I would go looking in to see like where is the source of that. That why is 20 Putter's Circle, $50,000 more. I know on this one, for example, you have a building area of around 2,600 square feet, 2,650 square feet. That property's 2,300 square feet, so it's 300 square feet lower.
My square footage in the house is 1,700 square feet.
Got it. Living area, 1,760. So it's the same.
Yeah, they're all those houses are the same.
It's weird. Okay, I'm looking at effective
That's also
area.
Phase E, which is a different phase. If you look all the way to the left column,
Yeah.
phase A, B, C, D. So if you're comparing a phase A to an E, you're going to see a few-year discrepancy and a reval in there. So there's that.
And there's basements, some basements are finished.
Then it doesn't. It's not a
Got
full.
it.
It's
Yeah,
not a
so
full capture of every single data point. Just style, phase.
But the phases, so A, B, and C, for instance, They're all the same house. There's no difference in those houses. They're cookie cutter. Boom, 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 boom. They build them in a factory in Quonset.
In any case, I'll take a closer look at the field cards for some of the ones that you've cited today.
Okay.
Just to understand better some of the refinements that are made between the properties within the development.
But I really don't have all that much more than that. That's pretty much it.
Well, that's fine. Yeah, thank you so much.
Okay.
Before you step away, I just want to personally thank David here because, I'm not a robot assessor, I'm a human. I came in on a Saturday with a fever to get out all of my assessments by the date in December before the holidays, and I accidentally responded to his appeal for 136 Driver, not his property, so the timeline got a little skewed, but I'm glad that you gave us grace. Thank
I
you
got a
very
little
much.
nervous there for a bit. I thought I was being forgotten about.
Yeah, I did too. I don't know why they didn't say, hey, I didn't appeal. What are you doing over there? But it's all
I
good.
did appeal, and I wasn't. Aren't you guys supposed to send me a letter or something?
Thank you for being a
Yeah,
good sport.
no,
I
it was
appreciate it.
fine. I mean, what the bottom line is that I keep paying my taxes. I don't have a problem with paying taxes, and then eventually you'll get caught up. That's kind of what I was hoping for. So, all good?
Yes, thank you very much.
Yes, comments, any other comments, questions?
Any other comments? Any questions? No?
Thank you very much.
you
Very
for
well
your time.
presented. Okay, next appeal on the agenda is appeal number 129. Is there anybody here representing the appellant?
Good morning, Kevin McDonough, co-owner with my wife. I do have some additional material for the board that I'll hand out. I don't want to take up a lot of your time. I think what I'm hearing today, it sounds like it supports my argument that vision appraisal should be here at this hearing. I don't know if they normally send a representative or not, but I haven't.
They do not.
They do not, okay. The reason being that there are a lot of nuances, obviously, to this process. And as a homeowner, as some of these previous homeowners, maybe we're not aware of all of those nuances. But just hearing some of the comments today from previous appellants, I have to say that South Kingstown has certain villages, obviously, but we are one community. And when you start talking neighborhoods and stuff, that in my appeal, I tried to use some comparable neighborhoods to ours. I mentioned Moonstone, Matunic, East Matunic, and Snug Harbor, all being coastal neighborhoods similar to Green Hill, where we are. I don't think the differences are as broad as you might find somewhere down in Westerly or Charlestown, where you have Watch Hill versus other sections of Westerly, or Weekapaug versus other sections of Charlestown, for example. I think all of the neighborhoods or communities that I've mentioned in South Kingstown are fairly comparable. But yet, when you get into vision appraisal analysis, they're all over the board. I mean, I'm seriously was challenged by this process to compile the data for this appeal. The tax assessor sent me my initial declination letter and supported it with, comparable parcels, but as I stated in this letter, I said that the comparatives of parcels in our neighborhood is really invalid because it's a flawed sample, in my estimation. And it doesn't form the basis for a proper review of our appeal. I'm asking for what vision appraisal used, Vision Government Solutions, or whatever they're called, used as a comparable transaction set. I think that's where we need to drill down to see what they're using for their analysis. And The Excel spreadsheet that I presented, there's two of them. The first one is sorted by a declining price per square foot of, I'm only focused on the land value here just to simplify things. But when I look just to the east of us and see properties that are larger, sizably larger lots that are valued less, and they're on the same latitude, basically, same distance from the water as we are, et cetera, it doesn't seem to make a whole lot of sense to me how they arrived at some of this. And if you look at numbers, when you get down, I understand completely the whole thing about acreage, and you got to look at zoning, R200 versus R80, but we're talking, and I've always been told this by assessors and all that, it's what's a buildable lot, and then you're comparing a buildable lot. So it doesn't really matter if you're on a half acre or if you've got 5 acres, but I don't think that stands up to common sense when you're comparing it to true valuations. So I think you have to consider that. Real quickly, the other thing I just point out is if you look at the bottom of that first spreadsheet item, line item 64, 65, 66, you've got lots on Matunic Schoolhouse Road that's sold for $550,000 and $500,000, and they've got a land value assessment of $341,600 and $341,800 and $345,100. I don't understand how that's possible for a December 31st, 24 assessment when the property just sold the year before or a few years before, a couple $100,000 higher, why it's not assessed at the value that it's sold for as a vacant lot. So that's confusing to me. The other thing I'll point out is I did submit a professional certified appraiser's assessment of the property that was done in December of '24, so right before this assessment. And I don't know if you, no, I'm saying back when that very first year, so that should be on file with you. And the land assessment was much, much less at that time. I'll conclude with one last item, and that is that it pointed out, I tried using an AI agent to go through and do some of this analysis for me. It wasn't too successful, and I'll tell you the reason why is because Vision Appraisal has certain robots that they use that make it restrictive and disallow various AI attempts to get in. So it causes the AI agent to fail, and it limits accessibility. So they don't make it easy, put it that way. So, but the land component, I put this at the bottom paragraph of my letter. The land component of our property assessment rose from 166.4 in 2022 to 682.8 in 2025, a 310% increase in the land value. Now, I've heard other people here, had 40% increases and things like that. 310%. They said, even accounting for the town-wide reval, coastal land appreciation, this magnitude is extreme. The Vision Appraisal field card notes a prior abatement reduction on the land, and that the two are mentioned at the times, suggesting the land for this parcel has a history of being overvalued by the assessor and a failure to consider the basis for these previous adjustments in the current assessment. So if they could look back at the history on that, the land hasn't changed, it's the same land, so if there were accommodations made then, I would hope they'd be carried over. So I'll wrap it up to any questions.
Yes, you indicated that you have an appraisal from '24, but we do not have that information.
I'm actually going through, I would have absolutely considered it if I had that during, it wasn't submitted with the original appeal, so I'm not sure if you gave it to the folks in Vision during the hearing. They give me everything that's been submitted electronically, and I don't have it in that folder as well, so I think that
This was done, you know that law that says by January something, when you come,
Oh, you're talking the statement of account, okay, that's different, so not an appraisal. Per state statute, you must file a statement of account in the month of January, from January 1st to January 31st, of what you have on your situs. So it comes into play really when you litigate. That's one of the first things the courts will ask if is on file.
But there
with
is
this
no
VIN,
appraisal.
there is none.
So there's nothing we're missing in our packet. I
So-
just want to get
so
clear.
But if I submitted that to your office, it would be in a different file somewhere then?
A statement of account is completely different than an appraisal. It's basically
No, I
you-
mean, I submitted a real estate certified appraisal for the property that.
Sounds like there's an appraisal, like they.
I don't have it, and we
Okay.
should get
Okay,
that.
let me
Yeah,
get-
if you don't
I
mind
can get that
emailing,
before your April 8th
that would be
hearing to Wendy
very
then? Is that the
helpful.
way to do
Yeah,
it?
I don't want you, like, we don't have it. So
Okay.
if you, it would be on you to get it
Yes,
to us.
I
I don't
will.
want you to assume that we have something we don't.
Absolutely.
And any information that would help you out, we want to make sure we are reviewing. We don't have it.
All right,
So-
understood.
Can I ask a quick question
Yes,
about the
absolutely.
appraisal? So I kind of understand the point you're making, because you're really like zooming in on the land value
Yes.
issue. So we're taking that into account. We're taking a look at that. Typically, when we see appeals, the number we're most concerned with is the property value total. And what happens when we try to pick apart the components of the value, the way it's allocated, it can be kind of tricky, because I think that the way that Vision appraises properties is they appraise the whole property, then they allocate to the component parts, is my understanding of their process. So if we kind of kick a table leg out from underneath their allocation without considering the other pieces of their puzzle, we kind of can go down the wrong path. So my question is the appraisal a land valuation, or is it an appraisal of the home?
No, my challenge, my appeal is strictly to the land valuation, and it's based on the comparables that I've presented here, and I could go on and exhaust this even further, but I tried to keep it to coastal neighborhoods and where I feel like the entire street we're on is skewed compared to what you're looking at just down the coastline, basically. You go to Matunic, you go to Moonstone, Matunic, East Matunic, Snug Harbor, and we are skewed off the charts. So, but not only that, but just even going the other side of, we abut the west side of Trustham Pond. If you go to the east side, the Myers compound have 4 properties, and I think I did an average on them. It's of like half the appraised value for multiple acre properties. Now, we might be R80 and they're R200, but still, it doesn't seem to factor that it should be that large of a variance. Those are the ones on line items 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, which are showing, you could see that it's single-digit price per square foot, but that's because it's acreage of 1.84, 1.94 compared to our 0.28. But still, I don't think there should be such a, why would our land be valued at 682.8 and there's multiple acres more valued at 660? It just doesn't make sense to me, and if Vision can explain it, that's why I'd like to hear the explanation that's justifying it. So,
You're not the only one.
all right.
All right, so just for the record, we're going to get this appraisal submitted to the town staff, and we will have this for our next meeting on April 8th, correct?
Yeah, I'll get that to
Yes.
Wendy? Okay.
Yes,
I'll do
that would be
Excellent.
great.
All right, thank you all very much for your time.
Okay, thank you.
Have a good rest of your day.
Next item on the agenda, what number are we on here? Is appeal number 131. Is there somebody representing the appellant, and if so, please state your name for the record, and we'll be ready to listen to you.
Good morning, Jonathan Kalianos, one of the homeowners at 40 Camp Fuller Road. First off, thank you. You folks are volunteers, I understand that, and I appreciate that. And I hope everyone who comes before you understands that you're not being compensated for your time. You folks to my left, while you may be paid, you're public servants. Thank you. I say this because I've done your job I've served on boards for many years. I was on the Finance Committee of Town of Upton for many years, school budget subcommittee, a lot of time given to public service. My entire life has been dedicated to that. I am also a licensed real estate broker in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, have been for many years. I own a legal consulting business called Legal Realty with select clients that I have, mostly family and very close friends, handful of people that I deal with very complex real estate issues. If they want to buy or sell or subdivide a property, I work on them with that. That's my hobby, that's my fun, okay? My professional life, I've been in litigation my entire life. I'm an attorney. I'm currently a federal judge in Boston, a labor judge. I'm responsible for other judges. I serve as a district chief judge of 2 offices. So a further compliment. You folks are a quasi-judicial board. The way I have seen you perform today has been heart-fulfilling, amazing, and outstanding. Kudos to all of you. You've shown tremendous patience. You've let people speak beyond their time. And I don't think I could pay you a higher compliment than saying, I'm glad I've witnessed this, because it's been truly a very positive experience. So thank you all.
Meeting adjourned.
Mic drop.
And I'm not trying to suck up to you. I'm just being honest with you from what I've observed this morning. I've been here since you convened, and I'm impressed with the way you conduct yourselves, okay? Regardless of how you rule on my appeal, it makes no difference. I will not change my mind, I promise, okay?
You know, now that we've got the meetings being recorded on YouTube, and I hope the assessor's office puts together a clip reel of our greatest hits of this season and releases it on like TikTok for the public to see our best moments, hopefully. So, but I appreciate the comments. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. I try to be brief in my submission, certainly, that I sent in last week. I assume you all have access to Rhode Island MLS. I know that we have a builder, appraisers, and realtors on the board, so that was an assumption that I made. So I'm not going to give you pictures and things. You can go look. And I know I've heard several times today that you're focused on 2024. I get it. I gave you sales from 2025, 2026, because that's what exists. You know what this market is. There are not a lot of sales that are happening, but I think we can all agree that from December 31st of 2024 until today, it's very unlikely that property has decreased in value in South Kingstown, okay? So if I've given you a comp that goes later than that, 2025 or 2026, use the number. I don't care. It's to my disadvantage, because that property likely increased in value from December 31st, 24 until today, okay? So even if you use the number without even adjusting for time, which you can do backwards, if you don't want to, that's fine. Use the number. And I think the best comp I gave you was one that just sold, right on my own street. And that closed just this month for $1,035,000. A bigger home, further down Camp Fuller Road, that has a lot more advantages than being right at the entrance to Camp Fuller Road, quite honestly. Have any of you driven down Camp Fuller Road? Okay, a few of you have, okay. You know the area, you're from here, you know it's a private road, okay? First off, the assessor has it listed as a paved road. That's not a paved road. Look at the assessment, it's not paved. Never been paved, never will be paved. That's a huge problem if you live at 40 Camp Fuller Road. That's the entrance. Every vehicle that enters and exits Camp Fuller Road has to go by my house. Trucks, cars, food service, tractor trailers, whatever it is, they're going by my house. If you've ever gone down on a summer day, you know the dust that gets kicked up. It's like, you know, the Charlie Brown cartoon where Pigpen is walking along. That's exactly what it's like. It is awful. Does it outweigh me wanting to sell the house and leave? No, absolutely not. And another observation, we're all here talking to you. This is in our disinterest, right? We're trying to tell you our property's worth less than you said it is. That's not in my self-interest. That's actually, yeah, I might save taxes, but someday when I go to sell this, somebody might pull this up and say, hey, didn't you tell the board this? Yeah, I did. And I'm trying to be honest, and I will be honest. It's a disaster. It's constant. You can't keep cars outside. They have to be in garages. Your house, you can't open the windows in the front. And you heard Ms. Smith tell you, I wouldn't buy a house on a private road. You're in a limited marketplace of who's going to buy that house on that road because it is a private road. We do our own plowing. We do our own road maintenance. We do have an association, thank God. I've been on the road committee since the day I came in there because I was younger when I started. And I was helping these guys, a bunch of old guys trying to maintain this road. Older guys, I shouldn't say old, I'm approaching their age now. But But it's much different living on a private road that's dirt. Potholes are constant. During the blizzard, our private plow guy got stuck, blocked the road for the better part of a 24-hour period. Nobody could come and go. We had to get him extracted from the road so he could finish plowing. Nobody on a town road had to deal with that cost, that expense, that aggravation. No one on a town road typically has to deal with constant daily dust. We have no municipal services, none. Fire, okay, yep. Ambulance, okay. Schools, if you have children in schools, yep, that's it. Everything else we pay for, or we put it in ourselves. Water, septic is all private. Trash is private. And we're all on our own as far as the road is concerned. What really struck me, and I feel kind of embarrassed to even mention it today, is my assessment went up over 30%. Everyone else here had much higher assessments, and I said, wow, I probably should just pack it up and go home. But to go year over year up 30% is shocking to me, because nothing else changed. And I came online when you folks did the 2021 reval. I was a full value. Vision had everything. They had the fully built house, everything they needed. And all of a sudden now in 2024, a couple of years later, we're going to go up 30-something%? Makes no sense. Nothing's changed. I know I'm not under oath today, but everything I'm telling you, I'm going to assume as though I am under oath because you're a quasi-judicial board. And it doesn't change how I say things or how I speak. I told you I paid $800,000 to build this house. I was wrong in my writings. I went back on an email that we finalized everything on February of 2021. My total cost at the end of the day to complete this house was $787,863 to Meridian Custom Homes. The home builder on this board knows who they are, I'm sure. They're a pretty prominent home building company. If they could have sold this house to me for $1.3 million, don't you think they would have? How can you tell me that a home built in February of 2021 increased from $787,000 out-of-pocket cost to $1.3 million something today? It's not possible. It doesn't make any common sense. I built this home during the pandemic. March 2020, we all know what happened. Those of you in this industry know what happened. Couldn't get materials. I had to go and negotiate with the stone company in Johnston to truck stone out and crush stone so we can get it for the foundation. Because Meridian was at its wit's end. They didn't know what to do. So I could keep the project going. Everything was a wreck. Everything cost more. But still, at the end of the day, the final number I paid out of my pocket, $787,863. I already own the land. But that also included septic, water, landscaping, permitting, engineering. So there are soft costs involved in that as well. I'll pause for a minute. I don't know if you folks had a chance to read what I submitted. Any questions about what I submitted to you in terms of my statements that I submitted or other things? No? In the submission, you'll see that I highlight a problem that I think you're hearing today that's pretty significant, and that's the valuations that Vision is giving you, right? Look at the property at 1509 Commodore Oliver Perry Highway, and I put the MLS number, and that sold on May 2nd for $1.3 million. The house is not what made that property sell. It was the 8.81 acres it was sitting on. That's why that sold for $1.3 million. I think you folks had it assessed somewhere at $600,000 or something.
I'm sorry, what was that?
What was that address again?
1509 Commodore Olive Perry Highway. So,
just to the other board members, just because we received this separately, so I had this in my pocket. Just there is a submission that we received with our packets, but it might have been provided in a separate page. So I'm just trying to help them get on the same page with us, because
the other example in this regard is look at the neighboring property on my road in Camp Fuller. 108 Camp Fuller Road. That's my direct neighbor down Camp Fuller on the same side as me. She sits on 7.31 acres. Her total assessed value is $685,100, having the same land value as me, $356,900. I'm at close to it. We're in a few $1,000s. 7.1 acres on Camp Fuller Road. I guarantee you she can subdivide that land as a matter of right. No question in my mind. That's what I did. I used to own 908. This parcel was 908 Post Road. So I went in, I did a subdivision as a matter of right, and we cut off this parcel. I sold in July of 25, 908 Post Road to our longtime tenants for $700,000. It was a sale where I took back 100% financing because I really wanted these kids to be homeowners. And they were very excited to become homeowners. So it shows you there's a flaw here. There's something wrong with this process, right? If you're assessing our land at the same, that ain't right. And then you're looking at how this assessment was done. You plucked land value from close by, then you plucked the house value from a different parcel. You went on to South Street, I think it was, and you took the home value from South Street. It was, let me see here. Yeah, you took the 1322 South Road, and you said, okay, that's your home value, even though it's not a home that's on Camp Fuller Road or anywhere near it. And you said, we're going to stick that's the value of your house. Well, why? That house was built in 2024. It's 4 years newer. It also has 4 bedrooms. Mine has 3 bedrooms. So even your methodology of plucking a home from a different part of town and saying, well, we're going to stick you with this home value, I think you can do it. I think it's legal, but it doesn't make any common sense to me. I'm a big common sense guy. So I think, honestly, the real kicker here is look at 182 Jerry Cove Road, right on the water. Sold in March of 2025. Look at the pictures on MLS. Beautiful home. They have access to Potter Pond, or to Salt Pond. $1,790,000. You're going to say my house is worth $100,000 less than that? No way. It just doesn't make any common sense. I'm not going to pay $1,799,000 for a house that's right on the water and give you $1,680,000 for your house on Camp Fuller Road that's full of dust. The other thing that you have to know about is being where I am on Camp Fuller Road, we have constant road noise from Route 1. It doesn't stop, nonstop. I knew that when I built the house. I hope I'll go deafer when I get older and I won't hear it as much, but it's there. And I wish I knew how prevalent it was, because I would have put in, I don't know if you could put in better windows, but I would have researched it and done a better job in terms of trying to protect the inside of the house from the road noise. But you can hear the road noise inside the house. So the further you get down Camp Fuller Road, the better off you are. Number one, you don't have the dust problems because a lot of the road gets covered with trees and it's shaded, and that keeps the dust down. And number two, you're further away from Route 1. You have no road noise. So when I gave you the comp that just sold for $1 million change, absolutely a comp. That's the value. That's the value. And it's a 4-bedroom house. Mine's a 3-bedroom house. So,
Just a friendly reminder, we are at the 10-minute.
Appreciate that. So
I'll
I'll wrap it up.
The gong did go off.
Thank you. I didn't hear it, but I appreciate it. Any further questions?
Board members, questions, comments?
No, I think it's thoroughly presented. I know you have an opinion of value that you put in as like around $1.28 million, and I think I understand the basis is that you have a comparable sale that you presented and kind of adjusted a little bit for a time factor. We've got that, and I appreciate actually too, sharing with us the construction costs, because I often wonder, how well Vision does with their kind of their building improvements estimates. So if your construction costs around approaching $800,000, obviously there's there's a bit of an inflationary factor, I'm sure, in soft costs, as you mentioned, but to see the building new estimated at $1.37 million, it's useful for us to kind of get a baseline for how closely and how well Vision's doing at making those kind of cost estimates as part of their allocation. So I appreciate that.
In that regard, I think the other important note, and I can supply the policy if I can find it, Andover Mutual, they say guaranteed replacement cost, $1,181,000. That's an insurance company charging me a premium. Do you think they'd underestimate or would they overestimate? I think we all know they'd probably give me the highest value they possibly could. So in their estimation, to replace this house today, if it totally got obliterated, to build it back exactly as it is, I'm paying a premium based on $1,181,000 by an insurance company. I think you guys should be less than that, quite honestly, on the house value. Okay? Thank you, folks, for your time again.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, very well presented. Okay, next item on the agenda is appeal number 132, Durfee Family Trust. Is somebody here representing the appellant?
Hi.
Yeah.
I think it might be good afternoon now. I'm Carolyn Durfee. This is my husband, Matt. And we...
Hi, I just wanted to thank you for your patience. Now,
Oh,
so the
thank you, and
diehards
I-
that have made it into the 12 o'clock noon, past 12 noon,
And I
thank you for your
hope
patience.
it's not a while. It must be very tiring to hear. We hope that you'll hear us with fresh ears. I know it's hard when you've just been listening to many, many cases, but this is ours, and this is the first time we've ever been through anything like this. So, you know, again, to it, not knowing what the structure of the hearing was going to be, I did submit on Monday already just a little summary letter, but I felt comfortable today. That's just what I wanted to present. So not to read from that, but some of the facts were that we wanted to speak to when our hearing was, we received the denial letter. What we received were two comps. The reason it was being denied, but there were two comps in the town that they compared our property to, and the first one was 20 Lupine Court. And to speak to that, for us, 20 Lupine Court, the square footage is significantly more than ours. It's 1872. Our property is 1288. This lot size is more than twice than ours. It's 0.48. Ours is 0.23. And 20 Lupine Court is a cul-de-sac and off of South Road. It's a very quiet road. I know there's all these terms about the R factor, and we don't really know how to speak to that, but Salt Pond Road, everyone knows Salt Pond Road. It's a very busy road, and we have a very small lot. So we didn't feel as though, because of the size of the property and the lot size, it is a split level, and the increase of that property went up 30%, 2023 to 2024. The next comparative that we were given was 215 Silver Lake, stating that it was a split level. When you drive by that house, I have never been in the house. It looks like a colonial, but that's larger, much larger. It's 16 square feet, and it's on over a half acre, 0.61 lot. Their increase went up 29%. Again, and just to the whole reason for our appeal is that our increase went up 71%. We just think is much higher than these other houses that were presented to us. So we had presented in our original documentation, and I just would like just to revisit those properties. Tarleton, it has not sold recently, but it is a split level. It's right behind our house. It's right in our neighborhood. So we feel as though the area is more of a comparison. And it's 1488 square feet. The property is a little larger. It's actually on a double lot. And although that house hasn't sold recently, their increase was 29%. To speak to sales in 2024, because as I know that's a big piece of the picture here today, the one I really want to identify is 370 Biscuit City Road, because it sold in December of 2024. The house is a little larger than ours, but more in line, 1518 square feet, and it's on 1.65 lot. And their increase only went up 31%, even though their sale price was $660. Their overall assessment's at $556, so below the sale price. 15 Salt Pond Road, we purchased the property in 2024, but based on all our reviews, had not had any enhancements or upgrades since prior to the previous assessment. And again, I want to assess Salt Pond Road is an access road to both Route 1 North and South, the hospital and the marina. It's predominantly commercial. There's 53 commercial properties on that road, with 5 residential properties, 1 being ours. Only 3 are owner-occupied. 1 is a non-owner occupied rental property, and 1 is a full-time Airbnb. So we feel, again, that the road does not compare to Silver Lake Ave or Lupine Court. They're very different roads. Salt Pond Road is very dense, and if anything, our neighborhood adjustment, which was stated in the denial, should have a negative impact on 15 Salt Pond Road. Yes.
Hi, just a couple of things to highlight. Matthew Durfee. So we purchased this in June of '24. Very hot real estate market. Nothing was on the market, so we may have overpaid, but that's over the water over the dam. Again, as far as the nature of Salt Pond Road, it's not only the emergency vehicles going to the hospital, which South Kingston usually turns off the alarm, but not Narragansett. And they send a lot of people to South County Hospital, even though they don't want to share anything with us. Secondly, across the street is an office park. There's something like, how many units?
53.
53 units. Again, the nature of the residential properties on our road is 40% of them are rental properties. And next, you not only get the traffic going on Route 1 and going to the hospital, but all the trucks that supply the plaza over there at the Stop and Shop use that road to get on the highway. Our house literally shakes when they go by. So again, it should be a negative impact as far as the location. We just looked at this and said, wow, we've got a 71% increase. Never lived in South Kingstown before, know that the rate hadn't been set yet, but started asking around and people were way below us. And certainly Carolyn's done a good job in looking up budding properties in our area, things that sold that year. And the increases in the assessment were between 27 and 31% on those properties. And we feel that would be more in line with what ours should be, not 71. It seems to be an outlier. Thank you.
I would just like to expand a little more because I want to highlight, because I know that is the issue, is sales, comparative sales. And I did research, and it's already in your documentation that I previously submitted, and it was in Group 2. It was in our first appeal. Then all those properties had sold in 2024. One was 122123, Oakwoods Drive. But that was a split that's so comparative to ours, and it sold for $649, but still their total assessment is less than their sales price, $579 too. So in our first assessment too, I will say Vision reduced it by $5,000, but I think we just feel as though the comparative to other properties, our percentage increase was disproportionate, and we'd like reconsideration. Do you have any questions?
Comments, questions, board members?
No, I think, maybe just, the only question really is just to give you another chance to address so it was purchased in 2024 for $711,000. Yes. And I think the reason that that's a little bit more than water under the bridge for assessment purposes is because that is, I'll ask the assessors, was their sale a qualified sale per Vision?
Yes, that was a market sale.
So, yeah, the sale transaction of your home, most likely the reason that the increase was so dramatic in your case is they were using your sale as essentially a comp to set value for your home, and probably for other homes in either the neighborhood or in the split classification. So that's one thing that I think is going on that maybe underlies why there was such a. I acknowledge 70%. If I'm getting that right, 71% it's a big jump. But maybe, just tell us a little more about the transaction. You mentioned you think you overpaid.
Well,
Just give you a chance to
Well, the
to
reason I
address
did,
that.
and I agree with that, so we thought, wow, the sales price. So then when I started doing research, of course, through Vision, to look at other sales that had occurred during the same period with the similar size house, and that's what I mentioned, with similar size house, same house type, similar lots on 308 Oakwoods and 370 Biscuit City Road. Those are both splits. That even though whatever their sales price were, their assessment is, well, Biscuit City's $100,000 less than their sales price. So if Vision is using that across the board, then I think it should be across the board. We're just looking for equity. If other people paid a certain price for their house in 2024 because it was a high market, okay, then everyone should pay it. We agree that, oh, wow, we don't want to pay taxes, but we just think it should be equitable for people who purchased in a very high market where inventories were low, and that's just the way it was. But I'm just saying then it should be across the board, and there are records that there are not. It wasn't across the board.
And I'm hearing that too. I'll just say that. So there's you can make a case on market
Yep.
value that I'm overvalued based on
Yes.
market values. You can make a case based on, kind of equity and disproportionality from other neighboring properties or similar properties. And so I'm understanding the case that you're making.
There were 6 split-level sales. The subject was one of them, and 370 Biscuit City Road was appraised at 5569. It sold for 660. If you want to see sales, I have that.
That sale is in their package.
Yes, it is,
and
yes.
Also, their assessments went up in the 27 to 31% range.
Correct, and in that same range, it seemed to be what it was across the board, that, as we said, between 27 and 31%. It just ours seemed excessively high, that's all. We'd like reconsideration, please. And thank you for your time.
Thank you. Any other comments, questions? Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Well presented.
Thank you.
You get a two for one.
Next appeal is number 135. Oh, 136, the same thing? Okay. Okay.
I hope I can go much faster. All right, so I didn't prepare as well as everybody else did, but I do know a lot about the town now, because I looked at a lot of stuff. I am David House. I own 2 properties side by side on Charlestown Beach Road, which I'm blessed to be able to own those properties because it's, it's a great town, it's beachfront, it's beautiful. My mom and dad live here, my brother lives here, another brother lives here, we all live in town. And when I live in Connecticut, when I was looking, I was like, my wife's from Long Island, she's like, we gotta go to Long Island. I'm like, let's just check out Rhode Island and save a lot of money and not have to get dressed up to go to the supermarket. So that's where we ended up here. And this year, now I'm in a forced retirement, but I'm old enough that I can be retired. So this year I actually looked at my taxes. I'm like, oh my God. So I need to save some money, so that's why I'm here. So because I have such, I don't understand, and a lot of people brought these things up, grade of your house, custom versus contemporary versus conventional versus modern. I'm like, all these things, those lines are very blurred in my opinion. Builders are so talented now and materials are so amazing that to qualify something as a colonial versus a custom, really difficult. But in tax lingo, custom houses are 2 to 3x more than everything else. And I have 1 custom house, and I've got 1 old modern house. So I was going to talk about 994 first in my little thing here. And I'm not really looking for much. I just noticed that when I looked at other properties that there's something that stood out to me. So I'm like, well, this isn't a lot of money, but I'm going to fight this too. So the first page one everybody's looking at is just home sales I have in South Kingston. It doesn't really matter. I'm just educating myself to the whole market. Then I looked at my little section of the world, which is Charlestown Beach Road. And is everybody familiar with that road in South Kingston? It's basically left along the ocean. So I'm like, okay, well, this is a unique subset. We've got the pond, we've got Green Hill Pond in our backyard, and we've got the ocean in our front yard. It's, you know, Mother Nature may take it someday, but we'll see. So for $994, I'm like, well, my assessment's only $250-something thousand for my house, and the land I get, that Vision, I didn't know this, but Vision really, the ideal number is 43,540 feet is an acre, and that's what everybody's charged on an acre. And then after that, as somebody was pointing out earlier, 5 acres, you could get charged $1. You know, so if you have 1 acre, it's a lot of money. If you have 5 acres, it's a lot of money plus $1. It's not a lot. So then I'm like, okay, what's the other variable here? It's condition. Somebody makes a decision on neighborhood, that's a multiplier, but the condition is a giant multiplier. And where I live, or where my 2 houses are, it's a lot of money. That it's a multiplier of 4 for me. However, the 3 houses directly to my east are all under 4. And I'm like, well, why are they under 4? Somebody's got 500 square feet, 500 oceanfront feet and 5.28 acres. And I mean, they're out in the middle of no man's land between Green Hill Beach and Charleston Beach. And their condition is 3.5. Well, one of my houses is 50 feet sandwiched in between other houses, and they're saying I have a great view, and mine is a 4. I'm like, well, how is that possible? And I'm like, okay, so maybe they have wetlands, but I'm like, we all have wetlands. And I'm like, I don't know if that's the condition. So it should be site. Remember somebody was talking about they've got a hill on their yard, and that shouldn't be the same. And it's flat on the ocean, so I'm like, well, what is the difference? Why is somebody with 500 feet of ocean frontage, 5 acres, how is their condition 3.5 and I'm 4? And I don't know the answer. So then I went and I looked at my survey, because my neighbor, right next to me, I think you can see this. But also I want to point out here, this is a survey of one of the houses, this is the other one, this is my neighbor. And every single one of us has this, whatever, shrub swamp, all our land goes to the pond here, and it's a shrub swamp, so we all have that, right? This person, who's my next door neighbor, their condition is 3.8 miles. Mine is 4, this one's 4. These out here are 3 miles. I don't understand. Let me show you. The pond is here, we all have swamp, we all have the ocean. Their condition is different than mine. The other thing that's interesting about these houses that are to the east, goes all over us. All our houses are behind the road. We have telephone wires going in front of our view, except for the last those conditions are much higher. I don't know where they are. But my condition, but I'm paying more, so I didn't understand. That's one. I have copies of this, but I don't have this in small. Jeff Walsh did it.
I'm actually looking
What
right
was the
now to
que-
make sure that was recorded. Give me 2 minutes.
What was Jennifer's- I
I'm
didn't
sure
hear-
it was, if it was for, yeah.
I didn't hear Jennifer's question.
Was it recorded with the
I
town
see.
survey?
Yeah, well, definitely give it to them.
Well, no, and I didn't know that. Like, this is the first time of me doing this process. I'm like,
Oh, no, it's not recorded.
yeah, I have no idea.
I wish I had the crystal ball
Nobody
and the
knows.
all-knowing eye.
No, none of it. Now we learn as you get experience.
If you record
learn.
that,
Yeah.
anything that's recorded will trickle down, and we can
Anyway, so
get you that lot.
for
sorted.
$994, let me fast forward to, because I'm not really asking for much. Wendy, at one point, sent over an incredibly perfect comp for $994. It is
392A Cards Pond Road.
yes.
It was as close as I could get to
It's
you.
incredible. Here, so that's on page 3. the yellow highlighter, the yellow highlighter, 392A Cards Pond, do you guys see that? So my house is below the lines. So it's the difference. I typed it out for you. Highlighted Cards Pond is similar in age and hence good percentage. It's got more than 3 times the land, but I already learned now that land doesn't matter, which is counterintuitive to all of us, but land doesn't matter. The only difference really is they're a 3.45 condition where I'm a 4.
You got it. And then if you look to the right, just to, for educational purposes, so your condition 4, excellent view, that's kind of as good as it's going to get.
Okay.
So if
And
you look at
Cards
the...
Pond is a peninsula, which has views the whole way around.
So they do have, if you look at the condition, that's a site-specific factor for a parcel, okay?
Yeah.
Then you have your neighborhood. So they're both in the same neighborhood, and they both have the same neighborhood adjustment based on reval sales. You got it.
Yeah.
So if you look at that first landline, this is where I highlighted it, where it was close, but, you know, shows you. But that can...
I'm agreeing with you.
Yeah, so they got that adjustment 3.45 instead of 4 because of the pond front and because of the location. Oh, look at that. That's a first. This is recorded, right?
Yeah, no, I'm agreeing with you. I'm just saying, somebody's coming up with condition, but then the next page, page 4, is all the modern homes on Charleston Beach Road. So now I'm gonna get really specific about our road, and there are no sales. And you can read my little comments on page 4. But what I want to point out is that if I take the average of all the houses on Charleston Beach Road, their unit cost per foot, which I understand is, now I've learned, happens when your house is built, right? And then you depreciate back from there. So my house, I believe is the oldest. It is, built in 1982, is 17 years older than the average house, and yet my unit cost per foot is $1 less than all these houses that were built 20 years later. So I'm like, who decides when the unit cost is? Who makes that number up? Like, I'm trying to think, if I built a house 30 years ago and the unit costs were the same as today's cost, I mean, it's...
So I'll give you a little bit of insight as to how that gets calculated. So the year built clearly is different, right? Cards Pond is 1956, and then you're at 1979. The effective year built...
I'm on different, I've already moved on.
Oh, you've moved on, I'm sorry. Oh, I have it here.
No, you don't have this one.
Oh, I don't have that one.
So this is all our houses on Charleston Beach Road.
Gotcha.
And I'm taking every house.
All right.
And if I average it.
Okay.
And I'm 17 years older, and I've paid $1 less unit cost, which doesn't make sense to me.
Oh, I see your effective year there.
Yeah. So then the next page, just so you, I don't want to spend a lot of time on 994. The next page is the houses that I think are the closest homes to this house on 994. There's 2 houses on Charleston Beach Road. One has the same effective year, which is 902 CBR. There's only 2 houses there. You see that, you guys? 902 CBR. That one says average plus 10. Mine is average plus 20. Who made those numbers up? I don't know. That's one of my arguments. Their house unit cost, they started at 209. I'm starting at 232. And then I threw in the pink highlighter. If you guys want to look at the pink one, that is my next door neighbor, who just redid his house, which I don't know why it's called modern, because it's much nicer than my custom house. That house is finished in 2020 or 21. His unit cost is $229. My house is 1982, and it's $232 unit cost. I'm like, this doesn't make any sense, you guys. So I'm saying, just give me, I would like 209, but maybe you won't give me that. Give me 217. Give me $13 a square foot. That's all I'm asking for. Not a lot. And that's, I think it was, that's $22,000 in my assessment, which is not much. The bigger number, which I'm really asking for, is I would like you to relook at the condition of why my tiny little house is a 4 when all my neighbors are 3.5s and 3.85. I don't understand the difference. That would save me money. 3.85, if my condition was 3.85, I'd save $76,000 in assessment. And if I add the 22 that I'm asking for in unit costs per square foot, that would save me $22K. I'd save $100,000 on my assessment, which on Charleston Beach Road, it's not a lot. For some of these people, it was a lot. Charleston Beach Road, that's not a lot. I don't know if you guys have followed as I spoke. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I was hoping to make it easy. I didn't have enough for you guys to see, but I'll give you that. But now I want to go to 988. Much more difficult. So page 6. Page 6, I took all the Charlestown Beach Road custom houses, what are considered custom. And, oh, this is where I learned. The pink highlighter, just so you see it, you guys see the pink highlighter? I was highlighting 934 had 1.44 acres, and 880 had 2.88 acres. And they both had the same land assessment. That's when I learned about what an acre equals. Somebody's property is twice as big and they had the same land assessment. I was like, oh, what's wrong with this? So why does Vision do that? Do we know that?
Are you asking why,
I'm just curious.
after
Why-
the main acre, why it's so low, I guess?
Yeah, why somebody would 2.88 acres.
When they
versus
create your
1.44.
basic land curve, that's just how they do it, and it's all over the state. That's how it's done. That first acre is the most valuable acre. Even when we're valuing like farm, forest, open space, we extract that first acre, and a lot of people say, well, how come the residual, I'm not paying much of a difference? So that's the main value
But I'm
of an
saying-
acre, because a lot of the houses are in town are less than an
I would say to the
acre.
town, listen, Vision's been doing this 100 years, and I'm just looking at it for the first time, but the people with a lot of land, they'll pay the more taxes. You say you've got 5 acres, they'll say, okay, I owe more money. Not another dollar, they're gonna pay real money. So what I did learn is that there's a lot on CBR that's 0.11 acres, and I'm like, okay, so let's pretend a tenth of an acre is a building lot. So a building lot on Charlestown Beach Road is worth 140 grand. If you have an acre, it's 217. If you have 5 acres, it's 217.01. I mean, it's amazing how the building lot doesn't mean that much. So on page 6, I just point out that the house in 988, which is my good house, is 4 times smaller lot size, which I've learned doesn't mean a thing. I'm assessed at $3.71 million per acre, where the average on the road is 1.79. The average ocean frontage, which I would assume goes into the condition of your house, is how much ocean frontage you have. I don't know if that's true, if that's a factor. It should be. My lot is 3 times less. 172 feet of ocean frontage is the average for custom homes on Charleston Beach Road. I have 50 feet of ocean frontage. This is skewed because of that one house that's got 500 feet. There's another one at 240, and then most of the people are around 100. But I asked you in the last thing, would you rather be on 5 acres with 500 feet of unobstructed view, or be 50 feet and have 2 houses that you can touch on either side of you? And then I went to the sales. Page 7 are sales on Charlestown Beach Road. There's not a lot. One of them is 2024. The other one I think was 2023. But I just took those 2 houses. The pink highlighter is 910. That was a sale in 2024. This is on page 7, you guys. Highest by far on the street ever, $3.7 million, 3.75. And that comp would lower my taxes. So that house, $423 a square foot, where I am being assessed, I think, at $475 a square foot, or $476 right now. And again, these guys have twice the ocean frontage that I have. And then I've highlighted in yellow an anomaly which I brought up to you before, Wendy and you guys, that on my field card, my house is 2,560 square feet. But on the field card, it's, I think it says 2635 when you pull it up, because they're counting 75 feet of my closet under the house as living space. And I don't understand that at all. So I've highlighted UST acronym versus STG, and I put my neighbor at 910 has 312 feet, it's far column on the yellow, it's 312 feet of storage space that is assessed for $45,000. I have 300 feet of storage space, and mine is $73,000. My neighbor at 980, who's a modern house, but he has storage space, his storage space is $80 a foot. So I'm paying $245 a foot. My neighbor that sold his house was $145, and my neighbor that isn't selling, but my next door neighbor, is 80 feet. So I'm like, there's real money in that. When I did the math, so you guys know, if I did $980 if I look at 980 Charleston Beach Road, whose storage space is $80 a square foot, I would save $50,000 in assessment. If I use everybody else's, it's about 100 less, it's 30,000. And then if I got a condition change at all, which I'm still hoping for, it's like a 385, that would save me 62,000. If it was 3.5, that would save me 208,000. Remember, my neighbors to the east are all below 4, and I don't understand why. And then finally, when you look at my little page on page 7, and I'm comparing price per square foot, one of my neighbors, the one that sold for 3.75, is average plus 20, and I'm good. And then 934 Charleston Beach Road is good. If I just took the average of their unit cost per square foot, it'd be $437, where I'm 476, I think, or 492. No, I'm 492. I would save a lot of money if my unit costs were similar to theirs. And I think I did the math. $456 a foot would save me $92,000. 437 would save me $141, and 417 square foot would save me $192,000 in assessment. I went fast. Am I all over the place?
No, that's good. I'm following along. Just like in terms of comparisons, like for example, the 910 Charlestown Beach Road, where you've kind of zoomed in on grade as a factor. So you're rated as good, and they're average plus 20.
And I don't know who makes that decision.
It's at the time of build.
Who?
It's at the time of build, so no one here made that decision.
No, the question though is, I mean, is yours comparable? Like, is yours better than theirs, or is yours similar?
I think they're all the same.
Right. That's what I'm trying to ask.
Yeah.
I think
The assessor in the 80s made that decision.
I know, but
that's a quality. It's a quality.
No, we're in a different house. We're in 2014.
I am trying my best to keep up. You got two different appeals,
I know.
two different houses, two different situations.
Yeah. I'll give this to you. I wish I had this.
Yeah, I'm at 988. Yeah.
It's 988. It's 2014. Theirs are 2012 and 14, maybe.
And there is a chart by vision that delineates what each grade.
Mm-hmm.
Right, but
Fine.
No, okay. I'm going to give you all these, Wendy. I'll make another copy because I didn't have enough. But anyway, yeah, so they're comparable. I would say similar. They're on bigger lots. They're bigger houses. So maybe that's a factor, right? If they're giving you bigger houses, they're saying it's less per square foot, cost-wise, which would make some sense, I guess, right?
I think it's an expression of construction quality. It seems like there's an element of subjectivity, but I know that there's it's defined.
But if I knew when I built my house that somebody was making this decision, which I didn't, then I would why is my house going to be different? You got to explain it to me, Mr. Whoever did it.
Yeah, and we could always, we can review it as well, because it's not uncommon for us to review something like that and find, a reason to make a change. Not always, but that's something we could take a look at for this one. In addition to, and I would just say maybe for the next meeting, if we could get, I like that map with the condition code, the land for the land, just to get a sense of, what is falling under a 4 and what's a 3.5, that kind of thing. It's helpful to have that like visually, either on the, I don't know if we can get that.
Pull them up. I mean, I think
I can do that. I wish we could do it through GIS. That's on my dream list.
Yeah,
I can
GIS,
just
you
go
should push
right
a button
in
and have
do
that
it rather
pop up,
than go
yeah.
back to my layer and do
Even
arts
the
and
one where
crafts
it's a
with it.
print off with someone with a magic
Yeah, I'll
marker
do that for you.
does it.
I actually like doing it. I'll do that
Yeah,
for
you like that. It was.
Yeah, the one on the screen is 988. The one to the right of it is 994. 994 is only 1,600 square feet. And the other one is 2,560, and it's very strange, but it looks bigger, doesn't it? Anyway, those are the houses. And that one to the far right has got a 385 for his condition. I'm like, that house is way better than mine. His views are amazing.
And I mean, thank you for sharing the water, the ocean frontage aspect as well, or the width, because you've talked about factors impacting land valuation, and there is typically like they talk about the curve, but yeah, every additional square foot you get is worth less and less and less eventually. That's the principle.
And I'm going to tell you another thing, is that the guy that sold his house at 910 in 2024, we had just experienced January 24. Remember what happened to the beach in January 24? My road was washed out again. It washed out in Hurricane Sandy, and it washed out for 2024. This guy was to the left. He was maybe 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He's like 5 houses down to the left. His dune didn't get breached. Mine got breached, and the road got washed away. He sold because he goes, the next one's going to get us. And so he was nervous about it. So I would say, condition-wise, if 2024, it happened in 2024, I'm at the low end of the street. All those houses are at the low end of the street, and maybe that's why our condition is lower. I've been here since 2012, and I've been washed out twice. The houses to the left of me, the last 5 or 6 houses, 3 to the left of that blue, the dunes have stayed intact to the left, and to the right we've gotten washed out. East we've gotten washed out. So if that measures into condition at all, I don't know. The town keeps rebuilding the road for us, so. But I don't think it should be a 4 if people to the east of me are less than 4, I should be less than 4.
There is a discretion there, and I don't mind reading this right from Vision. We talked about the prime site land curve, an acre or 43, square feet. That to be able to do mass appraisal to get that land curve, that value is 217,360. So that's your, all right, and then everything else is a condition factor. So it's a prime site adjustment particular to each lot. So I'll just move on to waterfront. So the waterfront factors range from a low at 200% for small cove front or pond front to 350% to 4 on the South Shore rivers, saltwater ponds, and 450% for ocean front. So an alarming amount of discretion there, depending on the view. Water view factors will approach but not equal the waterfront factor for that area. The range of view factors run from a low of 125% of slight views to a high of 400% for excellent ocean views, which is where you're at, that 4.0.
Okay.
And then we go on and on. But
my
prime
point is,
95% value is
how are
the
the
house
houses
acre.
that have no houses around them and 500 feet of frontage, how are they a 3.5?
I'm sure each one has a history
How are they a
and
3.5?
yeah, so the map of the condition factors we've used before, and that's been helpful. So I'll make sure we have that
No,
for the decision-making
I
phase.
understand it's very subjective, so that's why I'm just pointing out that I've saw these anomalies, and that's what I'm bringing up.
Yeah, and I think that's what we take a look at when we see kind of irregularities. We want to take a picture of that and try to smooth it out if we can. It makes sense.
Yeah, so these people are talking, I think my assessment went from, total assessment, 2 million to 2.9 on that house?
For 994 Charlestown?
988. 994, I'm looking for $100,000. I think. you guys can maybe get close.
2.0143 to 2.9256.
Yeah, so $900,000. a lot of money. All right, well, thank you, guys.
Other comments, questions, anyone?
What should I be asking? Because I really don't know. Because the comps are, I looked up comps. They're stupid. For 988, for the custom houses.
No, I think you've given us what we need, and I think it is, I think land valuation south of Route 1, especially properties that have very unique attributes like this, is very hard, right?
South
like-
of Route
so
1
there's
is
a-
extremely
And
challenging.
that's what I was-
And then
Super volatile data
That's what I was
set.
telling Wendy earlier. I'm like, I had no idea when I was looking at some of those places that people were bringing up. I'm like, that's a really cool, Jerry Brown Farm or whatever it was.
Yeah.
Those communities are so unique.
Yeah.
To, you know, to our
We have
little.
very unique.
No, and Vision has to
situations
value it
down
based
here.
on, probably less than 10 sales, if that, it's a very difficult to put a value on some of that.
Well, I think what Vision says, the home sale, I'm bringing up 910, I asked the guy, and he goes, it's not a qualified sale. I'm like, well, why isn't it? He goes, well, I can't tell you. I'm like, I mean, what do you mean you can't tell me? He goes, because it's 2 properties. I'm like, yeah, you idiot, you just don't know. This is where I have to get in front of people, because every house owns the beach, so it's 2 parcels. So you have to sell that and the beach. So nobody's gonna buy the house without access to the beach, right? So there's 15 houses that are not gonna be qualified because it's technically 2 properties are sold as a bundle. I think that's what he was trying to tell me. That's why it's not qualified. Does that make sense to you guys?
Well, it's got to be an arm's length transaction, and if they, file 2 quick claims, or there's all sorts of
No, it
funky
was-
ways, but at the end of the day, the
My
assessor
big blue
sets.
rectangle is there, and then I own another rectangle in front of the road that is my beach.
But it's a multi-parcel sale. Those get looked at, like if we don't have enough of a data set, then we'll pull. But if there's enough, they get parked in no man's land,
Exactly,
unfortunately.
that's
But
what- that's what
I
we do.
look
Yeah.
at those.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, thank you, guys. Let's all go to the mist.
Thank you, yeah, it was, yeah.
I definitely don't watch the game. Unfortunately, we're in Red Sox country. I'm with you.
Appeal denied.
Thank you very much, well presented.
I'm not sure.
I understand everything.
I had
here.
so much
follow
more
it.
paperwork, I whittled it down when I really.
No, this is good. This spreadsheet here that you submitted is great. Any other comments, questions from anybody? Board members? Okay.
Wendy, can you handle the storage part, though? That's crazy. I don't understand that.
When we do the decision-making phase, we can look at that.
Okay.
Yeah, I looked at it just now again.
Can somebody, you want to come look at my closet? It's got fishing poles and surfboards and chairs in it?
I believe you.
I made a note to bring that up so we can talk about it more. I'm just curious about that. I'm curious if it cues off of the base building code, the amount, but we will explore that a little bit as well.
And that was built after the house was built, so I
Right.
applied to build that. I did. But I probably said, I'm gonna build a storage unit under my house, and then it says STG, but everybody else just says UST. I don't know the difference. I know. But it's costing me money. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. No, you guys can go. You guys.
Yeah, I would make a-
I was Phi low. I'm first in, last out. I was here first.
Yeah,
I'm
we
like,
gotta
oh.
give you-
I was like, because I'd never done this before. I'm like, my wife's like, oh, you'll be 9:30. You'll be done in 15, 20 minutes. I'm
No.
like, yeah.
No, how do we feel?
Should have brought you water and something to eat.
Yeah, I have a muffin in my bag.
Now, you guys, the lawyer said it eloquently, but you guys did a great job. You can tell you guys care. All right, but
Thank
wait a
you.
minute. It goes back.
Okay. All right, so,
It's like, I want to adjourn, but if we have
Yeah, let's
like,
just-
something to resolve.
yeah, we have our next meeting, all right, so we have our next meeting on April 8th. So the next question is, I don't know if we're going to get through all of this stuff, so should we schedule another meeting after the 8th? And if so, do we have to do that so there's proper notification
I think
sent out,
that's
or do
best
we need
if we can,
notification?
we already have April 8th, so clearly everything that was heard today will get bumped down to old business, and Actually, do you want to clarify what you would like to do for the appeals 91 and 92? Those were the first two that were not present, but I don't believe they will be. So you, in theory, you can move everything down to old business and start chipping away. Now, if you want to do a notice where we're not notifying everyone because we might not be able to get through it all, I think maybe at this point, all right, what do we have, 15, 16, 17, 18, all right, so we have 20. We could send notification to 10, so that 10 people don't come and don't get heard on the 8th. Does that make sense?
Are we listening to anybody?
No,
I don't want to listen to
no,
anyone.
now you're done. You'll move.
So the notice would just be that we are going to decide
Yeah, and
their-
if they
their-
want to come, then it's up to you whether
Yeah.
you want to hear them again or
I mean,
they
I don't want to
submit-
limit, if we're able to decide 15 or 20, I don't want to put a constraint on, because maybe, we're going to do the best we
All
can
right, so
to
we'll move
finish.
them all to old business. There'll be 20 there. We'll send out notices like
Just
we
make
do.
sure that people know if they inquire, that they're not going to chat, we're not going to chat with people.
No, right, public hearing is closed. This is just us now.
We
like-
just need,
But I don't get to say anything.
nobody, yeah,
No.
we've heard enough from everybody, we just need a little time for us to talk.
And we only have so many meetings we can budget for the season too, so we're done on another crunch. Oh, no, you don't, yeah,
No,
no,
it's
no,
just an
some
obs-
people may come or watch, and that's fine, but the public comment part is.
They can
is
observe,
closed.
they can shout from the audience if they want, but we are really just trying to talk to
You
ourselves.
got the lawyer, he's gonna have a cheering section.
I would say just notice them all, hopefully people understand that we're just here to talk to
Why don't we just go to
ourselves.
April 8th, see what you can, maybe you
Yeah.
decision them all, and then we don't have another meeting. I have one more meeting that we budgeted for if we need it past April 8th, which I feel like we could make the decision that day, or do
Yeah.
you want to just set a preliminary date so I can reserve the room
We
just
will
in
likely
case
need
we
more
need
time,
it?
but if, as
Okay.
long as if we can decide on April 8th, as long as there's like availability of rooms and stuff like
Oh,
that.
yeah, we're
then
here on April 8th in the chambers, so.
Maybe we just
um,
take the April 8th meeting, see how we do, and then.
Yeah, and then
kind of-
if you want, you get one more meeting after that, and then it's a wrap for the season.
Yeah. Yeah,
So-
and then you
Alright.
get 4 letters of letters of resignation after
no.
So, first of all, do we have a motion to close the public hearing?
the. So moved.
Oh, we have a motion on the floor to close the public hearing. Do we have a second?
Second, I second.
Any other discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, motion passes. The public hearing has been officially closed. Okay, so we're going to schedule a meeting for April 8th, and just so I'm clear, we got old business here that we didn't get to today. So when we do this list for the next meeting, we're going to start with appeal number 8, number 98. Is that correct?
You got it.
Yep.
Appeal 98, 100, 101, 110, 114,
Yep.
they're in the queue. And then appeal,
And then appeal number
91.
and 92, who we're not here, we're going to just
Do you wanna put
continue-
those at the end?
What's the
Does
board's
it-
pleasure on that? We want to continue that?
91, 82?
Yeah, well, they weren't here today, so we're just going to put those on as old business, and we'll just see what happens.
I think
Should we
that
do that?
they've been on the agenda twice now, so I think we can move to decision those
Yeah.
as well. I don't think,
Okay, all right.
we're not hearing any
So
more.
so all of new business as of right now in that order will go right under Appeal 114, under old business, and then you can go right into decision-making for the next meeting. And I think you're gonna make
So there
some
is
headway
no,
there.
there's no new business at the next meeting?
There's no new
Correct.
business.
Okay.
They've all been
All right,
heard.
and we're going to just list all of these out. We're going to list everything out for the next meeting. We're going to see how it lands by at some point in the meeting, and if we need to have another meeting after that, we will schedule it at the April 8th meeting.
And I'll make sure I have everything for you in regards to Shadow Farm, having a map with the spreadsheet, and then everything else that we discussed. Let me just run
I
it
know
through
Brad
real
had
quick.
several.
Visit history, oh no, we
Yeah.
did that one already. The appraisal for McDonough, if that comes through, you'll look at it. I'll email it to you if we get it sooner than later, so you can look at that. I'll check on that, the private road for Camp Fuller. We had it as paved. I'm not sure, I gotta research that. So, and then
Fair.
condition factor map for Mr. House. I think I got it all.
Yeah, my special requests. Thank you. But I think that'll speed up the decision-making rather than have us like poking around on the GIS. Do we
Okay,
need a
so
motion?
typically you will notify everybody that was here today. Is that how it works? Just
Yes,
so I'm
and I'll
clear?
make sure in the notice, I put the, that the public comment, it'll
Yeah,
just be decision-making, and if they, you're more than welcome to attend or view on YouTube.
Yep, okay,
I don't anticipate having a crowd, but who knows?
fine. Any other comments, questions before we move to adjourn?
Just, I guess one question more for Wendy. A lot of the things that are coming before us I feel strongly that you guys could delineate before it gets to us, or even now, specifically when it comes to the custom. That, if one guy's like, custom and all the surrounding ones, I think that's something that you could delineate and determine before it even comes to us. I would ask that you guys kind of look at some of that, because some of it to me is it's obvious on that, and I think you're more qualified to make that determination than we are. But when they make a strong case that theirs is different, if you look at that and can make that determination before it even comes to us, or guide us in that fact, I think that would be helpful, just because that has taken so much time over this period and is a very common theme. So I look at it as, okay, that's a red flag that's constant, so if you guys could just strongly look at that and make...
Are you asking for the next one, or just moving forward in the future?
Both.
Okay.
Both.
Yeah, just so you know, for the reval, we printed out every field card. We ran a query for custom, and Jen and I looked at each one specifically, because we had 4 custom sales that were large, and they were all south of Route 1. So we had customs in West Kingston, and we knew there's no way. So we did make market adjustments for a lot of the customs north of Route 1, which is why you're seeing all the customs really south of Route 1, because they're based on those sales. So it's market, all the little ins and outs, the grades, and that's not going to get, I wouldn't have been able to do that unless it came up during a reval. So that's
the nuances I get.
That's what you're seeing here. So out of the 200 customs, I mean, I know we had quite a bit this season, but maybe 20 tops. Like for us, I don't want to use the word win, but that was a win for us, because had we not done that, I can't even imagine how many you would have really had in front of you. So we did the best we could, and it's like, I call it like mining, coal mining, right? And then we filter it.
Those I would like for you guys to look at first, because if what some of these people are saying,
You got it.
to me, it's
In a
very
full
obvious.
reval, that would have gotten looked at more butters, but then once it started coming through, they're really situational. So for this, we have one last meeting. We'll look through them quickly. I am away next week, and it's real tight with that April 8th for me to be able to do all of that. I'll do my best.
But if you look at the ones, if I'm hearing some of these people correctly, it's very obvious. If they're the only ones that's custom and everyone around them is not.
Yeah.
So rather than that come to us for us to say, I would appreciate if it just was
hear
done
you.
on the obvious ones. If it's not obvious to you,
And the ones that you've
then it
already
comes to
made
us.
the adjustment, because really you did for the next reval, now we've got a little bit of a different game plan.
And you have to remember, culturally, things have changed in the town. We all live
We
in the
can't
town.
catch up in one cycle for what we did.
things
I
were
mean,
made.
not in a
I am
statistical.
just talking about the ones that come before us.
Right, but the ones that come before you, when all their neighbors are not custom, and you look at them and you know they're custom, they didn't, if you lower...
They
you
appealed,
lower
so we
this guy
denied
now
theirs,
to-
and then it's
right?
discovery,
Then-
and I
Then
have a
that's
whole
the
notebook of
information that as a
discovery for the
board I
next
would like to
reval.
get from you,
Right,
that...
so then the next time we have an opportunity, then we raise all those people back to where they should be.
Right.
But, that's it's same thing with the landline, that's the thing, we lower a landline because that guy appealed to a 3.85, now he's like, well, I want to be a 3.85.
It's like it's contagion.
It
We
is.
have.
It's really hard.
Domino, walk one down.
Because we're just looking at property by property too, so we're making these adjustments, and then in 3 years, the guy down
But
the
don't
street.
think that dies here. So I have a whole
You gotta
next
smooth it out,
statistical.
yeah.
Oh yeah, and that's why I'm glad that you're basically doing an ABR override is what we call it, so that I can run a report, look at those, and go, okay, let me look at these. So we've got a couple of these neighborhoods that we are gonna for the next statistical run through based on discovery.
And Vision oftentimes, during their appeals, they may change a style of house
And
to
then I'll
appeal
change it
somebody,
back.
which isn't something that I would do. I would either do an override or look at all the other conditions, because once you do that, it's there forever.
That becomes the basis for
And that
4 other
becomes-
appeals, and
Correct.
then.
So it puts you guys in a rock and a hard place, right?
But from I get you guys have the bigger job, but
But
for
with this,
us,
we've done
when
that. We've
when
looked
when
at
these
every-
people are coming before us,
We've talked to
they're
them.
all making a very strong case.
Correct.
And I don't want to be sitting here just giving, adjustment, but some of them to me are obvious, and I just don't know if they should be getting to us because they're that obvious. To me, I could be wrong, and I welcome your input. But lately, before it didn't seem as much, we were denying more than we were accepting. And now, as I'm listening to the arguments, they're very compelling, and some of it to me is common sense. And I just want to avoid that coming. I think that would help us all out. But like you say, you're looking at things in totality.
You know, if the problem existed before this person bought their house in 2024, it's a domino effect, right? And me changing them to, or us changing them to meet the neighborhood that's.
I'm putting you all together.
Yeah, that's wrong, then two wrongs make a right.
And that's, we're going to be looking for some of that input, because again, what I hear and see can be different, and that's why it's a collaboration. But
I think also some of the discrepancy in condominium associations, where they're all the same size, and they tend to talk to each other.
that with Brandywine.
Yeah, it's, you know, it's an imperfect system. We're never gonna have a
Of course.
perfect, and it's mass. Like,
It's just
they don't understand that it's
some
massive.
appear obvious to me that it should be changed, and maybe it's not as obvious. And if you turn around and say they're all custom houses, but they missed it, so that goes a long way. All I can go by is what I'm hearing.
Correct.
And we don't have the ability to go to every single one of these houses where you guys are looking at the houses. So that's just.
Assessor out there, and we try to, you know, we're you know, it's a process.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, some of these people fall in that, you know.
That
whole-
transitional period of what's happening in this town and all across the state,
Yeah, the whole state
actually.
is like
But
this, it's crazy.
I don't know if you would agree, but a lot of these people, especially lately, they're making very compelling cases. And as we go through that, it's going to be hard for us to overlook.
With all due respect,
some of the
I only
comments.
can make a decision with what I have,
Of
and you
course.
can see throughout they're giving things off the
Yes.
fly. I had an appraisal, I don't have an appraisal, like,
Yeah.
I can only do what I
And
can
that's
do
why
too,
I'm just
which
trying
is
to
why,
talk about
if
the
I'm
big
sitting on a
stuff.
fence, I'm gonna, for the sake of the appellant and due process, I am gonna send them to you. Because as you can see, I'm like,
sure.
I'm missing something, but what is it? And it'll usually, this is the venue where it comes through. And out of respect for due process, I really try to stay out of it as much as
course.
possible,
Yeah,
even
and
on
it's
screaming
mostly
inside.
that classification on custom, where you're going to have a better handle of it than I'm going to have. And I can't speak for David, obviously, he would be better than probably all of us. But some of that stuff, I think, could get solved, if that makes sense.
Any other comments? Any other discussion?
I have
Hey,
motion
we-
to adjourn.
We have a motion on the floor to adjourn. Do we have a second?
I'll second the motion.
All right, we have 2 seconds simultaneously. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion passes. Meeting is adjourned at 1:06.